Glasgow, 7 of the last 8 Commonwealth Games will have been held in Australia or Britain. Is there a case for you to say, look, whatever happens after 2030, we just can't keep going back to the old reliable stomping ground?
Well, what I would firstly say is that both the UK and Australia have been brilliant hosts. So all those games, they have been absolutely fantastic games that have got memories for all sorts of people around the Commonwealth. So not putting their ambitions aside, there will be more games that take place in Australia and the UK. I know there will be. But we also know that the work that we've done on the reset has made several countries put up their hand and say, how about us?
Because while the Commonwealth Games is great for the competitors, imagine how inspired people might be if it comes to their country.
Absolutely. And I think one of the really special things, I did an interview the other day and someone asked me what are my really special memories of Birmingham. And it was my first time as the CEO in this role. And I said, there were some amazing athlete performances. Absolutely. But the volunteers, and there's probably upward of, 4,000 volunteers that participate in the games and their stories. So it's more than just the athletes on the field of play. It's what it does to the communities. It's what it does to the volunteers. It is what it does to the economic development and legacy aspects, but it is far more than the athlete performances.
Thank you for listening to the interview. You'll find more in-depth conversations on the interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts, including episodes with legendary musician Paul McCartney, AI entrepreneur Kate Callett, and acclaimed writer Maggie O'Farrell. Until next time, bye for now.
From the BBC. Good morning, Manitoba. Hello, Winnipeg. I'm Julie Buckingham. You're listening to Information Radio, 89.3 FM, 990 AM. Of course, on the app. And hello to you if you're watching on YouTube. Welcome to Friday morning. The current temperature outside our studio at Portage and Spence, 16 degrees, 14 degrees at Winnipeg's airport. The sun is up. Technically, it is on the cloudy side as we get set for another Manitoba weekend. Maybe you started your weekend on Canada Day. Regardless, you should have a great drive this morning. It's clear and dry, but we do expect that it will be another relatively warm but sticky and humid today as well. Let's say hello and good morning to our team. Abby Adeyemi is our senior tech and covers the weather. Darren Morash, our YouTube producer. Sierra Sanders, our show's director, and we'll cover your commute. And the morning show is on until 8:37. Let's get things started. Heading to our news center for your headlines. Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, flood evacuees in Swan River say they had almost no warning the water was coming. Kevin Gregg could hear water running in the street when he woke up Wednesday morning. He got his wife up and crews were already sandbagging. The couple started filling those sandbags and packing them around their house, but before too long, the water was already flooding their yard. They say there should have been better planning and coordination by the town and the province. And thousands of people in Steinbach and Winkler want cannabis on the ballot for this October's municipal election. Steinbach and Winkler are the two largest cities in Manitoba to still ban retail cannabis stores. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 6:30.
All right. Good morning. And it's an exciting day as we get set, as I mentioned, for a weekend in Manitoba. And perhaps if you did start your long weekend early, we certainly hope that you have a plan to bring us wherever you may be in this beautiful province of ours. On Information Radio, first up this morning, as we've been talking a lot about the flash flooding that pushed its way into a Swan River barn this time, a farmer was forced to spring into action to save his own animals. We will kick things off with that story just ahead, and we'll parse through the details of Alberta's proposed West Coast pipeline now that we know its potential routes and proponents. Stay with us. You're listening to Information Radio, and we will be back after World Report.
On Q. I'm Ali Hassan, sitting in for Tom Power. The Canadian actor Jack Innanen first found an audience posting funny TikTok videos online. Those clips earned him a devoted fan base and the title of the internet's boyfriend. Jack has translated that online success into an acting career, and he'll be here to tell you about it.
Social media is incredible for creativity.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Willie Lowry. Alberta is launching a bid to build a new oil pipeline to the west coast. Premier Danielle Smith unveiled the route late yesterday in Calgary.
Following the existing Trans Mountain pipeline corridor, this project builds on existing infrastructure.
The proposal is a joint effort with Ottawa. Prime Minister Mark Carney says the private sector partnership brings necessary discipline to the project.
What Pembina is bringing is expertise, capital discipline. I mean, they're renowned for their capital discipline.
But University of Calgary economist Kent Fellows warns the deal relies too heavily on state funding.
Not entirely sure that you can call Pembina a private proponent. I think they're definitely a junior partner in terms of ownership stake.
Documents estimate the project will take at least 6 years to build. This new pipeline proposal is designed to bypass the northern tanker ban entirely. An Ontario couple found guilty of first-degree murder will appear in court today for the start of their sentencing hearing. The two women were convicted in the 2022 death of a 12-year-old boy they were attempting to adopt. The court will begin hearing victim impact statements this morning. Michelle Song has details on the case and the calls for systemic reform.
It still affects me.
After an Ontario judge decided Becky Hamber and Brandy Cooney were guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder and the death of a 12-year-old, referred to in court as LL, and for abusing his younger brother, JL. Sarah Biasetti, who was a teacher of the brothers, called for systemic change at the Children's Aid Society. She said she reported to CAS 4 times out of concern for their safety.
They sent me photos of them zip-tied, which I submitted to CAS, and nothing was done.
In the judge's 300-page decision, he wrote the actions or inactions of the Children's Aid Society had zero to do with the guilt or innocence of the couple. Ontario's former child advocate Irwin Ellman says the system needs to change.
Our systems do not center around children, even though they're supposed to be child-centered. We know that children are safer when they're heard and seen and have a voice. That's a beginning point for safety. And our system is not built to provide for that.
The prosecution argued the couple hated the boys and isolated them from their Indigenous community. LL died in 2022 and he was found malnourished and unresponsive in a pool of liquid on the floor of his bedroom. A sentencing hearing will begin today with victim impact statements, but it is unclear whether the two women will receive their sentences today. A first-degree murder conviction carries a mandatory life sentence. Michelle Song, CBC News, Toronto.
The United Nations Human Rights Council is meeting today to address the worsening crisis in Sudan. International observers warned the strategic city of El Obeid is on the brink of a major ground assault. More than 500,000 people are currently trapped inside the city under siege conditions. Anna Cunningham reports.
The signs from El Obeid are clear and unmistakable.
Volker Turk, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, opening this emergency.
Ali Khamenei was killed in late February during an airstrike on the first day of the war in Iran. Official funeral ceremonies begin today, marking the start of 6 days of state mourning. CBC's Crystal Gamansing has details from Jerusalem.
Small groups, roughly a dozen at a time, are led into a large room in Tehran's Musalla prayer hall. Before them, 5 coffins on a 2-tier riser. The former supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, at the top, below his daughter, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, and granddaughter. Pakistan's prime minister, a key mediator working with the U.S. and Iran to end the war, is one of that country's delegates confirmed to attend. Dignitaries from Russia, India, and China are also expected.
Well, I think it's hoping to develop quite a bit of soft power on this.
Roxanne Farmafarmayan is with RUSI, an independent think tank on defense and security.
The fact that there are dignitaries coming in from over 40 countries, including the president of Pakistan, I think is very important to Iran. And it's one of the reasons why this funeral has become pageantry in a sense.
Inside that country, rallies are also being held. One last night included women waving flags, clutching photos of the late Supreme Leader, and crying. Images projected to the world showing internal support for a regime that a month before the Supreme Leader was killed conducted a fierce and deadly crackdown on its people out on the streets demanding change. Khamenei's burial will take place July 9th in the town where he was born, Mashhad in northern Iran. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, Jerusalem.
India is launching an ambitious plan to double its global mango exports, but an intense heat wave is threatening those trade goals by scorching orchards across the country. Agricultural experts warn rising temperatures are drastically cutting crop yields. Ishan Garg has the details.
At one of New Delhi's central fruit hubs, hundreds of mango farmers are trying to get the best buyers for their produce. There's no dearth of demand. India grows close to 1,000 types of mangoes, but a heat wave earlier this year have damaged some of the varieties of mangoes, hurting farmers like Deepak Pradhan across the country. Pradhan says despite precautions like extra irrigation and protective treatment, produce has been hit. The damage could cost him close to 30% of his profits by the end of the season. Scientists say 1 degree Celsius rise in temperature could make mango yields fall by 11%. Program lead at the Center for Science and Environment, Vibhav Varshane, says climate change can damage production in more than one way.
If you have high heat during the flowering season, the flower does not develop and there is no fruit setting. And if you have a storm or heavy rainfall during the fruit setting period, the fruit falls.
The problem is acute for India, which grows nearly half of the world's mangoes, and exports, especially to North America, have been on the rise. India's Agricultural and Processed Food Products Export Development Authority says mango exports could double in the next 2 years, but for that ambition to bear fruit, the farms will first have to survive the heat. Ishan Garg for CBC News, New Delhi.
And finally, it was 55 years ago today. Jim Morrison, the enigmatic frontman of The Doors, was found dead in a Paris apartment. He was just 27 years old.
If I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher.
Morrison was the poetic wild heart of the 60s counterculture. His dark lyrics and hypnotic stage presence redefined rock music in just a few short years. Official reports blamed heart failure, but the mystery surrounding his sudden death in France only cemented his myth. His passing also sealed an eerie piece of rock folklore. Morrison died exactly 2 years to the day after Rolling Stones founder Brian Jones, who also tragically passed away at age 27. More than 5 decades later, Morrison's voice remains unmistakable.
Riders on the storm. Riders on the storm.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Willie Lowry.
Into this world we're thrown.
Good morning to you. I'm Julie Buckingham, in for Marcy Marcusa. You are with Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, on YouTube and on the app. You made it. It is Friday morning, and the current temperature outside our downtown studio, 16 degrees right now, 14 at the airport. Abby will bring us your full forecast in just a moment. On the show this morning, in the first half hour, we will find out about the dramatic story of a farmer rescuing his animals from floodwater. We'll also learn about the proposed pipeline in Alberta, not going to use northern BC, instead following the existing Trans Mountain pipeline to southern BC. And America at 250. It will celebrate the 4th of July. We'll talk to a political scientist about that country's Independence Day. Now let's head to our news center and join Heather Wells. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, a woman says she was harassed by a student who sent her sexually explicit images and threats of a rape over Instagram for months. Now, CBC is not naming the woman. In early April, she received a message from an unknown account with an AI-generated nude photo of her. She blocked the user, but another soon reached out, sending the same image. And over 2 months, she says she was reached by at least 20 different accounts. She did file a report with police. We'll hear what happened coming up. And people forced to flee their homes in Swan River are anxious to see the flood damage. Kevin and Pam Gregg say drone shots show water seeped into all 3 levels of their home. They say they had almost no notice their home was about to flood. We'll hear more Manitoba News coming up at 6:30.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
It's going to be a busy Friday morning, and we are dealing with a variety of conditions across the province, from hot and sticky to an air quality warning. So let's bring in Abby Adeyemi with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, good morning, Julie. Happy Friday. The province this morning, we are tracking rain showers in the southern part of the province, and up north we're seeing sunny conditions, and also we have a yellow colored warning there, talking about air quality warning in effect due to active smoke for the Tudela Lake region, and this is already causing a low visibility in that part of the province, so you need to take it easy. If you're having troubles breathing outside, you need to go inside. For the Red River Valley region at this time, today's forecast for the city and nearby areas are more like mostly cloudy skies, just like yesterday. There's a good chance of showers and an afternoon thunderstorm a risk in the forecast. Current temperatures hovering between 14 and 16 degrees depending on where you are in the city, and we do warm up to 23 later with some windy conditions and of course humid air across the south from the Pembina Valley region all the way to the Parkland and Interlake regions. We're seeing temperatures also sitting between 12 and 15 degrees, mostly cloudy in most of the regions, aiming for a high of 24, and we also see light rain in the forecast for most of these regions. Then we go up north, we're seeing 6 to 13 there. As mentioned, that air quality warning in effect for Tudela Lake and nearby due to smoke from the fire in the area, and this smoke is really causing poor air quality and low visibility, so these conditions can really change quickly from hour to hour, so you need to take good care. The powerful influence, seeing temperatures around 12 and 13 there. We'll see highs close to 26 in the northern part of the province under sunny and misty skies. You will see the sun, but it's mostly going to be impacted by the smoke in the area. So in summary, the south will get thunderstorms, and up north we're going to see smoky skies. Winnipeg, we're aiming for a high close to 26, close to 23 today.
But it's going to feel
like 26.
Yeah,
and
so
it's going to be muggy, so be prepared for the humidity.
Absolutely. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Sierra Sanders here again this morning, looking after all of my technical needs and keeping me on track, but also keeping track of your commute.
You're not technical at all, Julie. Why are you? No technical needs needed. What are we talking about? But yes, I am keeping an eye on the commute this morning. So far, things sound like they're moving pretty smooth out there, especially here in the city of Winnipeg.
Let us know, though, because I meant to tell you this morning on my commute in on northbound Osborne. There are, city barricades, but they're not set up. They've obviously been pushed over from the sidewalk onto the right-hand lane. This is right around Encore. So if you're heading through the village, stick to the left in case some good Samaritans stopped and picked up those heavy barricades.
Yeah, that's true. But I also know that this weekend, Corden Avenue is going to be closed. I will have to check the exact between what street and what street, but it'll be close to cars. It's time to party. It's time to have a good time there as well. But so those are some things going on here in the city. But looking outside of the city, that's where I would say most of the issues you might run into, especially on the highways. We are still seeing multitudes of highways closed due to the flooding in the Duck Mountain Provincial Park region there in the Parkland area in Swan Valley. There we are still seeing a lot of roads closed. So you want to keep that in mind there if you are heading out on the highways today. Make sure you check Manitoba 511 for up-to-date issues and situations going on there and conditions too. So that's the place you want to go there. But the number to call this morning if there is something getting your way is 204-788-3093.
Just a little hint of sunshine at Portage and Spence. Good morning. 16 minutes after 6 o'clock, and it was far from sunny. For the gentleman we're going to hear from next, a farmer from Swan River, forced to jump into action quickly as flash flooding reached his barn and ultimately his animals inside. The CBC's Ian Fraze spoke to Johnny Wintoni.
We were in town in Swan River. We got word that there was water over the road heading to my farm, so we decided that we were going to go and have a look. The creek, there's a waterway, a creek that flows through my farms. Elevation is about 70 feet from the creek to higher ground, so significant elevation difference there. We had 3 cows, 4 goats, and 3 pigs. So not a huge farm, but enough that these animals are like family to the kids, right?
And you said 70 feet. Like you're saying your property is like 70 feet higher than the creek?
Yes, it's not a huge drop. It goes up in elevation, but it's about a difference of 70 feet from the creek bed to the top of, or to the property, to dry land, so to speak. Never been recorded. It's never been seen that the water actually came to the yard site.
So you get to the farm. What do you do? Oh, first of all, what's your reaction and what do you do?
My instant reaction is we are in trouble. The height of the water and the water peaking and heading over the highway. So there's highways. I'm at an intersection, so there's highway right on 2 sides of my farm. And we got there and the water was just starting to creep up onto the road, onto the highway. And that's when I started to panic that we were in for some serious trouble. Of course, it was already heading into the pasture that the animals are in. And we decided that the best thing we could do is put them in the barn because the shelter was already filling with water. There's a shelter out there, kind of in the lower, not the lower pasture, but in the pasture, and it was filling with water. So we decided that we would move them into the barn. And by the time that we moved the animals from the pasture into the barn, the water was creeping into the barn as well. So this is unheard of for water to ever reach this height in the property. We knew right away that animals had to be moved. So there we were in the pouring rain, hooking up to trailers, getting hitches installed and getting that trailer backed into the barn to get the animals moved out. To get them into the trailer and into the barn, it was almost like they knew something was not right, because it was in the old or in the saying and in the stories that you read about Noah's Ark, animals going 2 by 2. It was pretty ironic to see these animals all going in at the same time. We have cows, goats, and pigs, and they became instant friends. Not that they're not friends, but they were instant friends and just marching into the trailer like it was nobody's business. So I think they knew that something was terribly wrong. Arriving at the farm and getting the animals into the barn was probably the harder part. That took probably an hour or so to get them all wrangled up and into the barn. But from the barn into the trailer, it was a matter of minutes.
How scary was this?
The loading the animals wasn't that crazy. It was the fact that the water was coming up so fast and flowing so furiously. As we were loading, we were looking at the highways, and the highways surrounding the intersection of my farm were closing in. So that was the biggest fear, is if we were going to wait any longer, we would be trapped in the farmyard. So that was the scariest experience. And of course, we had our kids with us, and my wife. So to add a little more drama to the equation, as the kids are watching the water and watching us wrangle these animals. And so huge thank you, Jenna. When we got to the farm and we wrangled them into the barn, we knew right away that they would have to go somewhere because they couldn't stay in the trailer altogether. So she put out a call for help on the local Facebook flood page, and within minutes the community stepped up, and there was calls, there was messages, it was shared something like 100 times to find us some pasture and some place to put these animals. This community is by far an amazing community and willing to step up and help anybody, anywhere, anytime. So a great shout out to the community.
Now what? What happens now?
Now what? We go to the farm and we assess the damage and we see what needs to be done, and we wait and we let Mother Nature dry up, and so we can bring the animals home. Currently, they're being treated like in a 5-star hotel, so they're being well taken care of. They're on a little bit of a vacation, and as soon as Mother Nature decides to cooperate with us and give us some heat and some drying weather, we'll move them back.
The CBC's Ian Fraze in conversation with Johnny Wintoni, a farmer who moved his animals because of the floodwater in the Parkland region. Well, we have a question for you this morning. If you'd like to share what you're seeing in and around your home as a result of all of the heavy rain and then the heat. What are the mosquitoes like where you live here in the city of Winnipeg or in Manitoba? 204-788-3205.
You know the voices that tell the story of our province. Now you can take them anywhere. From the essential start to your day on information radio to the conversations that define our lunch hour on Radio Noon and the pulse of the city on Up to Speed, your local connection is always within reach. Just open the CBC News app, tap the local drop-down, and hit play. Your favorite voices, your province, right in your pocket. Download the CBC News app today, your daily rhythm, live and local.
23 minutes after 6 o'clock, I'm Julie Buckingham in for Marcy Marcusa. The Alberta government revealing its proposal for a new pipeline to the BC coast, and it would follow the existing route of the Trans Mountain pipeline to the southern part of British Columbia. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith unveiling the plan last night alongside the Prime Minister. It's a surprising development since Smith has argued in the past a controversial route to BC's north coast would be a better option. We also learned more about who's stepping forward to help foot the bill and build that proposed 1 million barrel per day project. To get into the details, we're drilling down with Markham Hislop, an energy journalist and CEO of Energy Media. Good morning.
Good morning, Julie.
Was yesterday's announcement what you were expecting?
Yes and no. I've been calling the pipeline for, over a year. I mean, this is... The Alberta government has put a lot of pressure on Prime Minister Mark Carney and Ottawa to build it. But I would say even more than that, the Prime Minister, that has been surprising that he is as pro-oil as he is. And the major component of this, and why your audience should be concerned, is that the Pembina Institute estimated that 90% of the cost will be borne by governments, Alberta and Canada. And we're talking a project here that could be $100 billion for the pipeline, $100 or $200 billion to increase the oil sands supply of oil, and then another $100 billion to decarbonize it using carbon capture and storage. These are enormous numbers. This is probably one of the biggest industrial projects ever unveiled in Canada. And we still haven't grappled with the issue of whether or not there'll even be demand in Asia, particularly China and India, for the oil if all of this stuff gets built.
Can you remind us what the other route options were, and then ultimately why land on this one?
Well, the Prime Minister, or sorry, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith put the northern route to Prince Rupert on the table. That was never going to fly for a number of reasons. One, there's a tanker ban in place, and that there's been an informal tanker ban for 50, 60 years because of the weather, the extreme weather in that area. And then it was formalized under the Trudeau government. So that was one thing. Northern BC First Nations were adamantly opposed to this. So there were going to be lawsuits and political opposition. And then third, this route had been examined before by Enbridge when they were considering the Gateway project, and it was considered very technically difficult because this is a very mountainous region, and so it's expensive and difficult to build in. So the southern route, where they're basically following the corridor of the existing Trans Mountain and expansion pipeline, was considered the more feasible route.
So the Trans Mountain Corporation is taking charge of the project. So it would largely follow that corridor, as you mentioned. So is this really a new pipeline? Could it be just considered an expansion of that project? What's the difference here?
Well, it's a semantical difference. Really, what we're talking about here is this is a new pipeline. It's new pipe. The Trans Mountain pipeline, the original one, was about 300,000 barrels a day. The expansion was 590,000 barrels a day. That came into service in 2024, and now this one's going to be 1 million barrels a day. So it's new pipe, and the key here, though, that we need to focus in on is the Trans Mountain Corporation is 100% owned by the federal government. It was built the TMX, the expansion, at a cost of $35 billion to taxpayers, and none of that original capital expenditure has been paid back. The taxpayers are still on the hook for that $35 billion. All it's paying now is its operating expenses and a little bit of money back to the federal government. Is this the model we're going to see again, where basically the federal government steps up and subsidizes the oil industry? Because that's what Trans Mountain expansion was. And it looks like, in fact, that's going to be the case.
So between Alberta, BC, the federal government, as you mentioned, because Trans Mountain is a Crown corporation, the oil industry, we've got First Nations as well. Is any group fully satisfied with this project?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I don't think we've, the debate on this is really just beginning. So we'll see what, the focus has been on Northern First Nations. So we'll see what happens with Southern First Nations and Southern communities, whether they will object strongly. Remember, this goes right through the heart of, the Lower Mainland in BC. It's going to terminate at the Roberts Bank coal project, which is right next to the Tsawwassen ferry terminal, which I take back and forth from the island all the time. So that's going to be controversial. We'll see what the municipalities do. The BC government has said it is not going to oppose this. And the reason for that is it lost the Trans Mountain expansion fight in court. It was determined that the federal government has 100% of the jurisdiction over pipelines that cross provincial borders. So Premier David Eby said, we're not even going to fight it. We've lost that battle. And then the government committed to doing hundreds of billions of dollars of LNG projects in British Columbia. And so that basically bought EB's support.
Wait and see. There's lots still to come on this file, and we'll continue to follow it with all of you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Markham Hislop is an energy journalist and CEO of Energy Media, joining us from Parksville, BC. Still to come, well, happy birthday, America. After Canada's birthday, the United States is going to celebrate its 250th birthday tomorrow, as it had succeeded from the crown. We will talk to a political scientist about the mythology around America's founding and the contemporary conversations about if it's living up to those ideas. And much more still to come on Information Radio. The CBC News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it's 16 degrees. It's a day much like yesterday. Cloudy with a high of 23, humid, and today there is a chance we will have showers, maybe even an afternoon thunderstorm. A Winnipeg woman says she was harassed by a student who sent her threats of rape and AI-generated nude images over social media. CBC's Santiago Arias Orozco reports.
For more than 2 months, a woman says she was harassed online. CBC is not naming her because she was the victim of a crime that started in April with an Instagram message. It was an image of a profile picture turned into a nude photo with artificial intelligence. The woman blocked the account, but a new one reached out, sending the same picture. That cycle repeating over with new users contacting her every few days. The messages escalating to threats of rape. She reported to police, who told her in late June they had arrested one of her students in connection. The woman says she saw the boy every day in class while doing her practicum to graduate as a teacher. River Eastern Scone School Division say they have implemented disciplinary measures, but didn't disclose the specifics. Police say a 17-year-old boy is in custody, facing a number of charges, including criminal harassment. Santiago Arias Orozco, CBC News, Winnipeg.
People forced to flee their homes in Swan River are anxious to see the flood damage. Kevin and Pam Gregg say drone shots show water seeped into all 3 levels of their home. The couple tried desperately to sandbag on Wednesday morning and move their belongings to higher levels. But before long, the water was filling their yard. The Greggs say they had almost no notice their home was about to flood.
There's no real coordinated effort at that point. We're just doing it. So
yeah, you're just flying by the seat of your pants. Not what if the river comes up. Well, we're going to do this. Bang, bang, bang. Let's have a plan.
In hindsight, it could have been better planning, knowing that it was coming.
By the time the Greggs drove out, the water was to the bumper of their truck and the pavement was lifting off the street. Well, tension around Tuduli Lake as fire grows near the remote fly-in community. Priority 1 evacuees were moved to Churchill Wednesday night, with more evacuations expected. The only way in and out of Tuduli Lake is through the airport, which is located between the fire and the town. Saisi Dene First Nation councillor Corey Cheeky says the wind has blown the fire away from the town, but he worries it could change.
Out here, you never know. The winds can shift at like that. And it could be bad. And we don't want that, especially with a small community as ours and as up north as we are. It's real concerning.
Tuduli Lake is almost 1,000 kilometers north of Winnipeg. Vietnamese people in Winnipeg worry they could lose access to a cultural hub in the heart of the city. Saigon Centre is a social housing complex that served the Vietnamese refugee community for nearly 40 years. The 54-unit complex had to be taken over by Manitoba Housing over unpaid arrears on its mortgage. Kwan Hai Tontat has been going to the centre since he arrived in Winnipeg as a refugee. He says the cultural centre on the building's main floor is the first stop for many newcomers. And he says the province told them they could still use the space, but there could be changes.
We would allow you to use it, but we would also allow other people, other communities to use that. That's a nice way to say that you may not be able to use it because you don't have priority anymore. Before that, the Vietnamese community have exclusivity.
The province tells CBC it is fully committed to honoring the building's history. Thousands of people in Steinbach and Winkler want cannabis on the ballot for this October's municipal election. Steinbach and Winkler are the 2 largest cities in Manitoba to ban retail cannabis stores. Kayla Pysiak works at Flamingo Plus in Steinbach and hopes to sell the product.
A lot of people in Steinbach may be for or maybe not for cannabis, but I've noticed a big influx of people that just want to have their say or have their right to choose when it comes to the election. So I would say about 50-50.
Both cities held their last recreational cannabis plebiscites in 2018, just a week after Canada-wide legalization of pot. At the time, roughly 70% of voters in both communities rejected cannabis stores. Now, nearly 6,000 people in Steinbach and Winkler have signed petitions to force another vote. Well, it was a meeting of 2 soccer powerhouses and 2 legends. Plenty of emotion at Toronto Stadium as Portugal and Croatia squared off for what would have been the final international appearance for either Portugal's Cristiano Ronaldo or Croatia's Luka Modric, two of the greatest footballers of all time. Well, the match didn't disappoint, coming down to the wire with the Portuguese side winning 2-1. After the game, Ronaldo was asked about his former Real Madrid teammate.
He's a legend of football. I wish him all the best, and I hope he continues to play.
Canada now is getting set for its next big game in the round of 16. Canada faces Morocco tomorrow at noon Central. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Well, thank you, Heather Wells. I think a lot of us were wearing red on Canada Day, and then we'll have to get everything ready to wear our Canada gear again tomorrow.
Yeah, just wash it really quick.
Really quick. Some of us are pondering whether we should because, they won the last time. So that's just my superstitions.
Yeah, wear the reds.
Wear the red, and I think I will wash it in between. Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Lots to get to, as you heard in Heather's news about the area around Tuduli Lake. There is an air quality warning officially in effect for Tuduli Lake and nearby areas because of thick wildfire smoke, which is moving through the region. It is causing poor air quality and low visibility that Environment Canada says will change from hour to hour. Abby is here with the rest of your forecast.
Yeah, the province actually more like mixed bag today. We're seeing light showers move towards the southern part of the province while we have that yellow air quality warning blanketing the Tuduli Lake region due to those thick wildfire smoke, which I would say if you're vulnerable, please stay indoors and try to shelter in place accordingly. But for the Red River Valley at this time, expect a cloudy day. We have a 40% chance of showers, afternoon thunderstorm risk, and a high of 23 today. Then we'll see current temperatures just hovering around 14 and 16 degrees with a high just close to, I would say, regular for this time of the year. But we only get to 23 today. With the humidity factored in, it's going to feel muggy at some point. Other parts of the south, temperatures hovering between 13 and 15 degrees, mostly cloudy. Light morning rain spotted here and there. We'll see general highs around 24, 25. For the northern area, we're looking at temperatures around 15 at this time. Cloudy with spotted light showers already this morning, heading to a high of 22. Brandon all the way towards Nippo at 13 degrees at this time, partly cloudy. We have mild breeze in that part of the province, a high of 20 today. Now from Dauphin towards the Roblin area, we're expecting mainly cloudy conditions at this time, 13 degrees. We're seeing in that part of the province for now, a high of 21. And then we travel into the Interlake region, Gimli and nearby areas, starting around 15 under mainly cloudy skies, aiming for a daily high of 23 today. We then move into the north central and the far north, where we're seeing morning sunshine with temperatures hovering between 6 and 13 degrees. The powerfully influenced mainly sunny. We're seeing 13 degrees in that part of the province. Moving, we'll say shared highs of 22 with afternoon slim chance of showers in that part of the province. For the Norway House area, we do have mainly sunny skies now, aiming for a comfortable high of 26. Current temperatures there, we're seeing 12 degrees. Then the Thompson and Gillam area, sunshine there, 6 degrees, depending on where you are. Breezy winds pushing them to a high of 26 and 24. Then we go towards the Lynn Lake area, towards Tuduli Lake this morning. We're seeing temperatures around 10, 11 degrees. We have local smoke present in both areas due to the fires in that part of the province. We'll see highs around 25, 26. Churchill and the York region, partly cloudy, 11 at this time, with afternoon smoke moving into that part of the province due to the winds pushing it your way. Your daily high will only get to 23 today. So it's more of a mix of southern showers, northern sunshine, and thick localized smoke today in the northern part of the province. But expect a mainly cloudy sky for the city of Winnipeg, 14, 16 at this time, and we aim for a high of 23, but it's going to feel more humid than that.
And right now, enjoying a little bit of sunshine here.
Yeah, the sun just trying to crack through the clouds.
It's trying. And it's overall a really nice start to the weekend, at least in the city of Winnipeg right now. Is the drive also going along with, those Friday vibes, Sierra Sanders?
I would say so, yeah. So far, I haven't gotten any calls on the commuter line. I know obviously folks are still waking up, but the roads are busy out there. People are driving out there. So far, it sounds like things are moving smoothly for you if you were on the roads here in Winnipeg. I haven't gotten any calls on the commuter line, so to me, sounds like things are moving pretty well out there for you. But if that does change, I'd love to hear about it, whether you are here in Winnipeg or anywhere else in the province. You can give me a call on that CBC commuter line. The number is 204-788-3093.
Crystal Lee Ramlakan is joining us now with 20 minutes now before 7 o'clock with the business report. And as we touched on this last half hour, Crystal Lee, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith announcing her government has a route and builders for a new pipeline to the BC coast. So what's the reaction like to the plan so far that you're hearing?
Well, Smith says profits from a pipeline would generate billions in revenue over the coming decades for the provincial and federal governments, and will enrich Indigenous communities that choose to partner. But Smith's promise to work with Indigenous groups comes at a time of tense relations. Her government and First Nations chiefs have been in a war of words for more than a year over a referendum on Alberta leaving Confederation. So the disagreement stems from the duty to consult about Alberta possibly separating from Canada. And at least two environmental groups are voicing concerns about the proposed route. The nonprofit Stand.Earth believes if there was a spill, it would devastate the local marine environment. And the Wilderness Committee believes a pipeline would push killer whales in the region closer to extinction. Meanwhile, business leaders are applauding the plans. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce says new pipelines mean increased Asia-bound exports in the future, delivering on Canada's ambitious diversification agenda. And Smith says the project would send more than 1 million barrels to Asian markets every day, reducing Canada's reliance on the U.S. And the Fort McMurray Chamber of Commerce hopes the news will kickstart regulatory reforms that lead to more oil sands production.
We sit just blocks from the former Bay building, which is undergoing construction right now. And I understand Hudson Bay was selling off more of its wares to pay off some of its creditor debts.
Yeah, that's right. And it just completed its final auction of art. And this latest one featured 6 paintings with ties to Norval Morisseau. 3 of the pieces were created by the late Indigenous artist, and 3 came from his studio. Now, studio paintings are typically completed by assistants in an artist's workshop. And the top painting sold for $27,500. Also up for auction were vintage HBC signs, a basketball and jersey signed by former Toronto Raptor Pascal Siakam, and various other pieces of memorabilia and art that belonged to the collapsed department store. Now, the piece that fetched the most money was a portrait of Duke of Marlborough, John Churchill, and it sold for $50,000. And HBC started auctioning off its 4,400 pieces of art and artifacts last year after the business closed and needed to make money to pay off its creditors, like you were saying. And the sales have made the defunct department store $9.5 million. But, last year, a court filing showed the Hudson's Bay Company was nearly $1 billion in debt.
Winnipeg is known as the Slurpee capital of the world. So why is 7-Eleven, and we're proud of these things, why is 7-Eleven suing Nike?
Well, the convenience store chain is accusing the sportswear giant of copying its signature orange, green, and red stripe design on a sneaker that Nike plans to release. So 7-Eleven says Nike's upcoming Air Max 95 shoe features a confusingly similar imitation of the company's branding, which it says consumers associate with 7-Eleven, and that Nike scheduled the shoe's release for July 11th, a date widely associated with the retailer's annual 7-Eleven Day promotion and Free Slurpee Day. Now, 7-Eleven said it repeatedly tried to resolve the dispute before filing the lawsuit, but Nike indicated it would continue advertising the shoe and proceed with the planned launch. And the lawsuit says consumers are likely to mistakenly believe the shoe was sponsored or endorsed by 7-Eleven, even though no partnership exists. And the retailer is seeking a court order blocking Nike's sales of the shoe and a recall of products already distributed. And 7-Eleven also wants monetary damages and Nike's profits from sales of the footwear.
That will certainly be an interesting one to watch. Thank you for joining us again this morning.
All right, thank you.
Crystal Lee Ramlican with today's business news. 15 minutes now before 7 o'clock, and something we've been talking about here in the newsroom with all of the rain and the heat is mosquitoes. So certainly let us know at 204-788-3205 what you're experiencing this summer so far in terms of mosquitoes. I have one of those rackets that's got a battery in it, so there's wires in it that can fry the bugs as they go by, which kind of ties in with Carly Rae Jepsen's new double album. It's called Day and Night. We know that the mosquitoes are different day and night, and it'll come out on September 18th. And here's the first single, kind of like my little racket there, On Wires. You're listening to CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM.
Standing in your cold.
CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM at 990 AM. Carly Rae Jepsen's On Wires, the first single from her upcoming album, Day and Night. Abby, put your ears on here for a second. As we had a conversation, I was like, why are we having this off the air when we can have it on? So Day and Night, you have a theory since we were talking about bugs.
No, I have a theory of my two annoying flying bugs during the summer period.
Okay.
It's the fly and the mosquitoes. It's
Right.
like they take shifts. The flies resume around 6 a.m.
Okay,
and
they do the day shift.
They do the day shift and they end their shift around 6:30, 7, and then the
Dusk.
mosquitoes resume.
And they take the night shift.
And then they take the night shift. And then they have a supervisor.
That's right. That's the hornet.
The
I
hornet.
believe that the hornet can just show up at any time there's food.
When there's picnic, they show up.
Exactly. All right. Well, speaking of picnics, we're going to talk more about the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Call and let us know about your mosquito experience, 204-788-3205. And let's talk about July the 4th. It is tomorrow, 1776, 250 years since independence from the British Crown. The founding leaders ratified the Declaration of Independence. Famous for that sentence, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, endowed with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To explain how the revolution was understood in its time and to reflect on today's conversations about the direction of that country, we're joined by Thomas Schaller, who teaches political science at the University of Maryland. Happy almost 4th of July.
Thanks, Julie. Good morning.
Good morning. First of all, remind us of the mythology surrounding America's revolution and the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, the revolution and the war to free the United States from Britain was, yes, it was about independence, and it was about those promises that you listed as they exist in the preamble of the Declaration, penned primarily by Thomas Jefferson, our eventual third president: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But 11 years later, when we proposed and then ratified the Constitution, starting in 1787, that changed, by the way, from life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness to life, liberty, and property. And it's no coincidence that the central figure of the revolution, the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, our eventual first president, George Washington, was also the largest landholder in the colony. So some of it was about getting white men out from under the thumb of George III and the British Crown, but some of it was also about liberating their property. And that list of grievances that follows those flowery first two paragraphs in the Declaration is mostly a giant rant against the king.
Most of what I learned about U.S. independence came from the musical Hamilton, but how is it actually understood at the time in Britain and by its British colony, now Canada?
I mean, there's some dispute about how surprised the king and the monarchy was. London, I think, was perturbed and a little bit confused that the colonists were so upset about various forms of taxation placed on them, many of which, after complaints, the crown either rolled them back or significantly reduced the tax rates. And so they were surprised. I mean, it does cost money to protect the colonies from, Native American attacks on the frontier of Appalachia, from potential predations of Spain or France at the time. So you can't run a government without some taxation. And so as the colonists chafed, the crown was, sort of scratching its head. And then by the time Washington takes his commission in Cambridge, right across from Harvard Yard, which was already a university starting in 1635, then they knew a war was on, and the crown immediately moved to try to consolidate its power with more loyalists in the colonies, particularly in the southern states like Georgia and South Carolina. And their plan was the so-called Southern strategy to recapture the South, the slave plantation South, and then roll northward from there.
So how was slavery addressed by the American founders and their Constitution?
Furtively, very circuitously. Obviously, 11 years after the Declaration, when Madison and others write the Constitution, slavery is very much part of the debates in Philadelphia in the summer of 1787. But the word slave or slavery doesn't appear in either the Declaration in 1776 or the Constitution in 1787. Now, there are provisions that, with very euphemistic language, obviously apply to and imply slavery, like the Fugitive slave provision clause, which requires the North to return any slaves who escape from the southern slave states. There's the infamous and nefarious 3/5 compromise, where southern states wanted their slaves counted as population for the purpose of the census and representation in the new House of Representatives, but they didn't want them to have any votes, whether it was 3/5 of the vote, certainly not a whole vote. So slavery was the dirty bargain of the colonial period and of the revolutionary period for the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and it's an issue that we continue to obviously fight over literally for another 100 years, eventuating, of course, in an ugly civil war.
Today, what are some of the questions and conversations surrounding the American Republic and what's happening on its 250th?
Well, are we living up to these principles of the Declaration? What does it mean, what we're seeing in terms of some of the activities of the Trump administration? It's interesting, this very week, by coincidence, I guess, although the court normally releases its rulings this time every year during the summer, we had this landmark Supreme Court case about birthright citizenship. Now, the guarantee to citizenship, if you're physically born in the United States, is not in the original Constitution. It's in the 14th Amendment, ratified after the Civil War. But the MAGA-led conservatives are arguing that it only applied to slaves, and it's a dead letter of the law. Now they took that case to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court sided with the liberals and Chief Justice John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh in a 5-4 narrow majority, saying, no, if you're physically born in the States, even if your parents aren't citizens or yet, or they're in the process of, or they came here, quote-unquote, illegally, if you're physically born inside the property of the United States, you have citizenship automatically. And so it's ironic that we're still debating these questions of who's a citizen, what is the meaning of freedom, what are human natural rights 250 years later this very week.
So let's play a little bit of what Donald Trump had to say earlier this week, speaking to supporters about this big day.
On July 4th, it's going to be approximately 107 degrees out. And I'm going to go and I'm going to make a really long speech just to show that I can do anything.
30 seconds remaining. How might the founders have regarded the presidency of Donald Trump?
With disdain and scorn, I think. I mean, as with everything else, he's making about himself. This is the vanity presidency, as I've written. He puts his face on our passports now alongside George Washington, on our national park passes, his signature on our money. He has a mock-up of the archway down on the Capitol right now for the celebrations of the archway that he wants to build on the Virginia side of the Lincoln Memorial Bridge, overseeing, the Lincoln Memorial. And when asked what it's meant to commemorate, said his favorite word, me. It's all about him. It's not about Jefferson and his sacred words from 1776 or the Constitution 11 years later. I think the president to keep in mind this week is the president for whom the city that he is despoiling, George Washington, is named after. Washington set a global model for the United States and countries around the world, which to that point in human history have been dominated by dictators and monarchs and other totalitarians who stayed in power until they were dethroned by force or died. And Washington surrendered his army in 1783 after the end of the war, and he surrendered the presidency after 2 terms when there was no 2-term limit back at that period, and said leadership should be fleeting and should not be ensconced or entrenched in a single person, and we are a country of laws, not of men. Now we have the most anti-Washington president in Washington, Donald Trump.
We have to leave it there. Thomas Schaller, thank you for doing this.
Great to be here. Cheers.
A political scientist at the University of Maryland. Let's head to our newsroom now and check in with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, people forced to flee their homes in Swan River are anxious to see the flood damage. Kevin and Pam Gregg say drone shots show water seeped into all 3 levels of their home. They say they had almost no notice their home was about to flood. And thousands of people in Steinbach and Winkler want cannabis on the ballot for this October's municipal election. We'll hear more in our next local news at 7:30.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
This summer, Canadians will get a chance to enter the world of prediction markets through a new app by Wealth Simple. Our tech columnist will break down all of those details. Stay with us. More Information Radio after World Report.
Report.
This week, Americans all across our nation are filled with joy and excitement and anticipation.
I'm Pia Chattopadhyay. Americans are celebrating their country's 250th birthday, but their take on their country's history and this moment means the events are very different from place to place. That's coming up on The Current.
The Current, this morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Willie Lowry. Alberta and Ottawa are proposing a new pipeline project to the West Coast. The proposal would carry more than 1 million barrels of oil a day through British Columbia. The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian is in Ottawa. Rafi, how is this announcement being received?
Willie, it's getting praise from where you might expect, like the Calgary Chamber of Commerce, which says the energy sector needs certainty and investment. And this is an investment. The pipeline is expected to cost at least $35 billion, mostly paid for by the Canadian taxpayer. Yesterday evening, Mark Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith announced the pipeline will be handled by the Federal Crown Corporation that owns Trans Mountain, with a 10% stake from Pembina Pipeline. Like Trans Mountain, it will run from around Edmonton to southern BC. There are some differences. Back when Ottawa announced it was buying that pipeline, Stephen Guilbeault, the now former federal environment minister, was part of Liberal caucus. Now he's just stepped down. He's got some thoughts, saying on Facebook, this is yet another project funded by taxpayers, even as oil companies are expected to earn $60 billion in profits this year. He did praise the north-south route the pipeline is taking, saying at least that means BC's northern coast will still be protected, the federal ban on oil tanker traffic staying in place.
So, Rafi, what's next?
Now the federal government has to make a call by October 1st on whether this project fits in the national interest. And once that's done, the pipeline can get fast-tracked through approvals, presumably construction by September of next year. It could take up to 6 years to build, though, and meanwhile, plenty could happen. Also this October, Albertans face a referendum vote, for instance, on whether their province should stay in Canada or have an eventual vote on secession.
The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian in Ottawa. Thanks, Rafi.
You're welcome.
A CBC investigation has uncovered widespread evidence of ticket speculation on the resale website StubHub. Brokers are selling seats before they're even released to the public. The platform now faces regulatory investigations and a class action lawsuit. Dave Seglins reports.
I got really mad.
Jeremy Wright of Austin, Texas, missed his World Cup game.
We were on our way to the match. We were 5 hours before kickoff and found out we weren't getting tickets.
He didn't realize it at the time, but he'd bought his tickets off StubHub even before FIFA had released the seats.
I bought tickets before tickets were even for sale, so I clearly bought ghost tickets.
CBC has found StubHub ads from 2024 offering tickets for sale, a full year before they were issued by FIFA. Now, StubHub says it doesn't allow speculative tickets.
Well, I mean, I think it's a flat out 100% lie.
Ticketing executive Scott Friedman says, just look online. Seats for next year's Super Bowl, not yet released, are already on resale websites.
99% of those tickets are speculative tickets that are posted before the actual on sale happens.
StubHub insists speculation is against its rules, but in a statement concedes it allows resellers to list seats for sale that they've been promised but don't have in hand. As for Jeremy Wright, after talking to 7 different news outlets, StubHub gave him new replacement tickets for July 14th.
Which they're wonderful tickets. They're probably worth many, many times more than the tickets that I bought. But I also realize I only get those because I was so whiny. And that huge numbers of people, I would guess thousands, don't get anything.
Dave Seglin, CBC News, Toronto.
Extra money is landing in bank accounts today as the federal government rolls out the first payments of the new Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit. The program completely replaces the old quarterly GST credit to help modest income households cope with high food costs. It locks in a permanent 25% increase, providing up to $700 annually for individuals and $1,400 for a family of 4. The Canada Revenue Agency says the quarterly quarterly deposits are automatic for eligible tax filers. The Calgary Stampede is officially underway. The annual downtown parade is set to kick off at 9 o'clock local time this morning. Over the next 10 days, more than 1 million visitors are expected to arrive in the city for the exhibition. CBC's Colleen Underwood reports on what the 10-day stretch means for local businesses and their bottom lines.
3, 2, 1! Yeah!
Tourism Calgary's Alicia Reynolds kicks off the Calgary Stampede at a pancake breakfast. The annual celebration of all things Western will welcome more than 1 million visitors over the next 10 days.
We are so fortunate to be home to the greatest outdoor show on earth.
Fortunate, in part because of the fortunes to be made. The Calgary Stampede says it generated nearly $400 million of economic benefits in Alberta last year. Stampede CEO Joel Cowley says based on credit card data, local businesses experienced an 18% jump in sales.
Really benefiting from that were restaurants, a 29% bump. And that's absolutely incredible.
Not just restaurants, but bars, retail, and hotels too. Tiffany Richards is the general manager of Delta Calgary downtown.
We've seen some record growth actually year over year, so very exciting time for us.
Aside from the immediate economic benefits, Calgary Economic Development's Brad Perry says there are spin-offs too.
If you look just at the film and TV industry alone, The Last of Us was actually born out of a conversation during Stampede.
Ruhi Ismail-Teja with the Calgary Chamber of Commerce says it's also something businesses can count on during a time of rising costs, trade uncertainty, and ongoing questions about Alberta's future in Canada.
An event that every year provides an important boost when many businesses need it most.
And the hope is it will continue to provide that economic boost this year. Colleen Underwood, CBC News, Calgary.
And finally, New York City police are monitoring Madison Square Garden today ahead of a major celebrity event. City permits show pop star Taylor Swift and football star Travis Kelce are holding their wedding at the arena later this afternoon. The CBC's Griffin Yeager is outside the venue in Manhattan. Griffin, what are you seeing on the ground this morning, and did that reported rehearsal dinner happen last night?
Yeah, we're right outside Madison Square Garden where the supposed wedding is set to be underway. There's tons of police barricades all throughout the venue. Lots of fans sort of speculating police cars. We even walked past a tent where some black SUVs will probably roll in later with some stars. But last night, there was believed to be the rehearsal dinner at Madison Square Garden ahead of tonight's big celebration. That's according to several sources, including CNN, with sources that are familiar with the planning committee. It was a rehearsal dinner for approximately 100 guests before the 1,000 guest wedding gets underway today. Now, we don't really know much. What we do know is that curtains are hung throughout the venue. Like I mentioned, there's tons of barricades. We're not seeing anything or anyone that's going outside or inside this venue. There's large police presence, several celebs spotted out and about in New York, including some Chiefs players, and some outlets are actually reporting that the couple may already be married, and this is just sort of an elaborate celebration. Websites that track Swift's private jet showed the plane made multiple stops on Sunday, first leaving from Nashville, where she's rumored to live, making stops in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, where some of their family lives, and Tampa Bay as well, then returning back to Nashville. And speculation is that's where they may have already gotten married.
Lots of intrigue and drama, clearly. What are we expecting for the rest of the day?
Yeah, so in a few hours, we'll expect guests will start arriving for the wedding that Forbes is estimating could cost as much as $20 million. New York Times actually published an internal memo from the NYPD, supposedly called Taylor Swift Wedding at Madison Square Garden, and that said that the doors to the arena will open around 4 p.m. for cocktail hour, followed by a wedding and reception that'll kick off at 5:30 p.m. We're expecting to see tons of Swifties out here, just sort of trying to get any kind of glimpse of the pop star and the football player about to be wed.
Thanks so much for that, Griffin.
Thanks.
The CBC's Griffin Yeager in New York.
And that's when I told you it's alright. You were dancing through the lightning strikes, sleepless in the onyx night, but now the sky is open light. Oh my Lord, never.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Willie Lowry.
Good morning to you. I'm Julie Buckingham in for Marcy Marcusa, but you will hear her voice in just a few minutes. You're with Information Radio on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app wherever you are, and on YouTube. Friday morning, outside our studios here at Portage and Spence, still around 16 degrees, and we have some nice bright sunshine, at least for the moment. Abby has your full forecast as well. Still to come, a man rejoicing after a jacket sewn and beaded by his late grandmother gets swiped, but returned to him by a Winnipeg organization just one day later. That amazing story still to come. In her community's time of need, the manager of a hardware store in Swan River is stepping up. We'll also hear from her later in this hour. Let's go to our news center now and join Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, a Winnipeg teacher says she feels violated after she says a student sent AI-made nude images of her for months. We'll hear that story coming up. And flood evacuees in Swan River say they had almost no warning the water was coming. We're going to hear from one couple whose home was flooded. That's coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Heather Wells at your CBC News Center. Abby Adeyemi, we are dealing with a bit of a situation in the north, a yellow air quality warning in effect for Tuduli Lake because of thick wildfire smoke. And the sunshine that we're experiencing in Winnipeg, maybe we shouldn't be too used to it.
Yeah, don't be too used to it. It's more like a divided outlook today. I see in front of me, we're seeing a light rain shower already in some areas in the Pembina Valley region this morning, while those thick wildfire smoke has actually triggered this air quality warning around Tuduli Lake and nearby areas, really advising vulnerable people to stay indoors. So please, if you're in the vulnerable group, I would advise you to avoid exposing yourself to the smoke. Here in the Red River Valley region, expect a mainly cloudy day with a slim chance of afternoon showers and a risk of thunderstorms to go with that. We're seeing current temperatures around 16 degrees in the city. It's cloudy outside, but you might notice the sun really struggling to make it stand out there, but it's pretty more like a sun and cloud dance out this morning, with windy conditions developing as we move towards our normal high of 23 later today. And across the southern regions, that's what we're seeing. Temperatures around 16 degrees, light rain showers in some areas, mostly cloudy in other areas, and we'll see highs around 24, 25. Up north, we're looking at mild temperatures, 6 to 14s. We're seeing sunny skies with local smoke in most of the regions. In Churchill, we are currently around 14 at this time, aiming for a high of 23 in that part of the province. But for Winnipeg, we're looking at 6 degrees right now.
All right, beautiful 16. And Sierra Sanders, we are looking at a pretty beautiful drive so far this morning.
So far, I will say, Julie, though, I only heard the 6 come out of Abby's mouth. And I don't know if you saw my face. My face just was taken. I was taken aback. I thought I heard 6 degrees. And
that's all right.
Kind of freaked out a little bit. But no, 16 degrees is what Abby said. So I've kind of scared myself a little bit.
You didn't blink and miss summer, I promise.
Oh, thank goodness. Maybe this is all a dream right now. Just kidding. So far, your commute is looking like a dream. I haven't heard about any major backups or situations going on out there here in the city of Winnipeg or the surrounding areas. I guess the only thing to really keep in mind there are those highways in the northwest part of Manitoba there. But to keep up to date with the conditions and any other situation, Manitoba 511 is the place to go. But if there's something that pops up on your drive, I'd love to hear about it. So give me a call on that CBC commuter line. The number's 204-788-3093.
14 minutes after 7 o'clock, and prediction markets allow users to place bets on virtually anything. Geopolitical events, celebrity news, Taylor Swift wedding maybe, even the weather. Supporters call it the fastest growing corner of finance, but critics call it gambling with a nicer interface. And soon a new app by Wealthsimple will bring it to Canada for the first time, but with some restrictions. Francis Sims covers tech issues for us, and he spoke with the CBC's Marcy Marcusa.
Good morning.
So let's start with this because we've done a couple of interviews, but some people might still not know how these prediction markets actually work.
Yeah, simply put, a prediction market lets you trade on the outcome of an event. Basically, yes or no, is it going to happen? An example might be, is the Bank of Canada going to increase interest rates next month at their meeting? That might be important to you because maybe you have a variable rate mortgage or you have a business that has a loan. Or is the temperature going to hit a record in Winnipeg this summer? Right? You can imagine if you're in the tourism business, that might be something that's important to know. Each contract costs less than $1. So if you think it's 70 cents that we're going to hit this record of 40 degrees Celsius in Winnipeg, and you're right, you make 30 cents on top of it. You get $1 back for that 70 cents you put in. If you're wrong, you get nothing back. So this is where it feels like you're betting. The difference here is that you're not betting against the house. You're effectively trading with other people. So for every 70 cents you put in, you think something's going to happen. In principle, somebody's putting roughly 30% on the other side, 30 cents on the other side, thinking it won't happen. And the company that's being approved, Wealthsimple Predict, is going to basically take a cut. So everything you do, it's kind of like buying a stock. There's a commission, and they take commission off of that, and that's how they make their money.
Now, this has been blocked in Canada for years. So what's going on now? Why and how is it being allowed?
Yeah, so it's not. These prediction markets have not been regulated at all in Canada. Canadians have been using them via VPNs, maybe, and cryptocurrency. The biggest name in the U.S. is called Polymarket. Ontario actually banned it, said you're not allowed to use it at all, which means even if you're using it over a VPN with cryptocurrency, it's a gray market across the country. In Ontario, you're not allowed. You're explicitly not allowed to use it. So what's happening now is Wealthsimple Predict is an app that's launching this summer. It's the first regulated version that Wealthsimple is providing. There's actually another company, Interactive Brokers, that was approved, but not as large a reach as Wealthsimple. So approved by the Canadian investment regulator, but they can only trade on three things. One is inflation, an economic indicator. So think, is the interest rate going to go up? Two is the financial markets. So like, is the TSX going to go up or go down? And the third is the weather. I mean, everybody in Canada has an opinion on the weather, but they're going to keep it to those three because it's like the stock market. So there's no sports betting. So it means you can't bet on the Winnipeg Jets or you can't invest in the Winnipeg Jets. I'm careful with the word, are they going to make the playoffs? You can't do that. And when you put the money in, you have to lock it in for 30 days. So you can't put money down on something that might happen tomorrow because they want to sort of curb that addictive type of behavior.
Now, Wealthsimple says there are legitimate uses for this and that there are real guardrails. What do they mean by that? What are those exactly?
Yeah, so if we start with what they would say the legitimate uses are, I'll do it through a few examples. They treat it like a small insurance policy. So imagine a grain farmer in Manitoba worried about a really dry summer. And they want to sort of hedge that because if it's a really dry summer, maybe the crop yield is poor and they're going to lose money. So what they might do is they might put money against a prediction that is going to be a real dry summer. So maybe it's like 70%. And if it's a real dry summer, well, they make $1 for every 70 cents they put in. And that helps to offset losses that they might get, because they have a lower yield, for example. So, or you can imagine you're in the tourism business and you're worried it's going to rain all summer. And so you might buy a prediction or invest in a prediction that says it's going to rain all summer so that if it rains, you make money that way, whereas you lose money on people not coming to your restaurant. That's kind of how they're framing it as legitimate uses. And they're also saying the crowdsourcing piece can be useful from a policy perspective because, say, if everybody in Manitoba is investing in one direction on something, it might mean that's what the community thinks in Manitoba, and that could help the government inform policy. Now, on the guardrails, they're saying you have to basically be employed and you have to make a minimum income. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to curb anybody, say at a college or a university, from taking their tuition and putting it in to the prediction markets. You have to be making money to do that. And they're going to focus very much on education. If somebody tries to do things like invest $100,000, they're going to stop that and make sure they ask questions. This is how they're framing it. We're going to have to see what happens when they really roll it out, though.
Yeah, and also it doesn't show a sophisticated understanding of addiction or gambling addiction, because it really, when you think about age or means, or it's not about that. Critics, just to use that word, that's where it comes from, do call this gambling. Is it?
Yeah. So for most people, it does look like and feel like betting, because it's effectively a zero-sum game. University of Toronto, they did research on 1.4 million polymarket users, that's the big prediction market in the US, and found that 70% of people lost money. And the top 1% of people that made money took 84% of the gains. So the top 1%, we talk about the top 1%, is even in this market, is making the most money. And there's some suspicion, especially in the US, that there's a lot of insider trading. In fact, there's one U.S. soldier, a special forces soldier that was involved in the Venezuelan, remember where they captured the leader?
Maduro, yeah.
Maduro. So he invested apparently $400,000 in the market predicting that the leader would be captured. And then he was on the mission, or part of that mission where he was captured. And now he's being investigated for insider trading. So the problem with this market is that it's highly unlikely that the average person like you or me are going to make any money off of this. And that's where it really feels like betting, because when you walk into a casino and you put money down on a slot machine, very few people think they're going to make money off of that. And the ones that spend lots of money on that in that method are the ones we have to worry about the most.
If someone is curious to try this when it launches, what do you want to leave us? You've already shared some of it, but in terms of what they might want to keep in mind.
Yeah, treat it like going, when you go to a casino, maybe you buy dinner and you treat it like a night out, or you go to a movie, you treat it like a night out. It's entertainment money. Assume the money's gone. The odds are not in your favor. Just remember that you're most likely going to lose money. And the money gets locked up for 30 days. So if you're putting money down because you need to pay that bill next week, you're not going to get it back. It's there for 30 days. That's designed to make it feel like you're not going to get a quick win out of it. And so, the whole idea is just treat it like fun, but don't treat it as there's much better ways to make money and more reliable ways than this market.
All right, Francis, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
The CBC's technology columnist Francis Sims in conversation with the CBC's Marcy Marcusa. One of my favorite memories growing up, going out and picking wildflowers with my grandmother, which ties in nicely with the song that Sierra has pulled for us this morning. Tammy Nielsen is a Canadian country singer who now calls New Zealand home. Here's a duet she recorded with Winnipeg's own William Prince. This one is called Flowers on the Dash. You're listening to CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM.
Well, there's flowers on the dash 'cause she don't want 'em. Now I'm driving all alone back to Chatham. Rode up with my blues and I still got 'em. There's flowers on the dash 'cause she don't want 'em.
Well, I wish you would have called ahead. I'd have saved you the trouble. You can still go straight to hell and I shouldn't have to tell you double.
There's flowers on the dash 'cause she don't want 'em. Now I'm driving all alone back to Chatham. Rode up with my blues and I still got 'em. And there's flowers on the dash 'cause she don't want 'em. I would have listened when you told me you were leaving. This time won't be like the last time, babe, I got a feeling. Give and take, mend and break. Why's it always gotta be this way? Oh, for goodness sake, can we just go for a little drive? Well, there's flowers on the dash dash, 'cause she don't want 'em. Now I'm driving all alone back to Chatham. Rode up with my blues and I still got 'em. There's flowers on the dash, 'cause she don't want 'em. Well, there's flowers on the dash, 'cause she don't want 'em. Now I'm driving all alone back to Chatham. Rode up with my blues and I still got 'em. And there's flowers on the dash, 'cause she don't want 'em.
William Prince with Tammy Nielsen, Flowers on the Dash, CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM. Time for a check on sports. Paul McGowan is here, and like we've been doing for the last little while, let's start with the World Cup, the round of 32 wrapping today.
Yeah, 3 more matches coming today in the round of 32. But let's go back to yesterday. 3 matches yesterday as well, including 2 of the final 3 to be played in Canada. In Vancouver, Switzerland defeated Algeria 2-0. We saw Spain get by Austria 3-0. And in Toronto, wild scenes both before and after Portugal's win over Croatia. We saw crowds of Portuguese fans outside Portugal's hotel. We saw Ronaldo address those fans from a balcony as if he were the Pope. And then last night, fans flooded onto the streets to celebrate Portugal's 2-1 victory, which, yes, puts them through to the round of 16. But Portugal coach Roberto Martinez said it had added meaning coming almost a year to the day after the death of Portuguese winger Diogo Jota.
The match was fantastic for football fans in general, and for us Portuguese, it is a very happy day because of the significance of the game as well. We reached the round of 16 on the day we honored Diogo Jota, and we played against Croatia, the team against whom Jota scored his first goal for the national team, and the score was 2-1, which corresponds to Jota's number 21. There were many signs, but I think we deserved the victory.
Now, Croatian fans might argue with that last point about deserving the victory. This was knockout round soccer, and so there were accusations of soft penalties. There was a late Croatian goal taken away, but Portugal is through, and they will face Spain next in the round of 16.
Speaking of the round of 16, we are getting ready for Canada against Morocco.
Yeah, 1 night away now, and not everything has gone Canada's way so far. Alphonso Davies has been limited. Ismail Kone's tournament ended early, but it's worth taking a moment before tomorrow to appreciate that before this World Cup started, this exact scenario was seen as just about the best thing that could happen. Get a win in the group stage, get through the round of 32, and set yourself up for what will be the biggest game in the history of the men's program tomorrow. For all the talk, though, Julie, about playing with house money and enjoying the moment, Nico Seeger went out of his way yesterday to talk about winning.
It's an exciting time for sure before anything. Obviously, it's a big game, somewhere we've never been before, but I think the group's been really good. We've stayed together. We want to go in and win. Like, we came this far. We want to make the most of this opportunity. Maybe from the outside, people are writing us off or saying that we're the underdog, but we don't look into that at all. Like, we want to go into every game trying to win.
Canada did play Morocco close 4 years ago in the group stage, although, of course, both teams have evolved since then. We'll wait and see what happens tomorrow.
At the end of the day, you got to play the game.
Got to play the game.
Let's end on basketball. An eventful week for the Raptors.
Yeah, big time. And the deal that will bring Kawhi Leonard back to the Raptors is still not official. That will happen shortly. But in the meantime, the team has signed Coach Darko Rajakovic to an extension. He has had a very good first 3 years in Toronto. And also, in another echo of the Raptors' 2019 championship run.
I would say this: I will retire as a Toronto Raptor. That if I'm here, I will retire as a Toronto Raptor. That's a 1-day contract. Hey, whatever happens. It's just the connection that we have. It's always been a home to me, right? It's where I've become who I've become.
That is Kyle Lowry 5 years ago, predicting what we now expect will happen next week, which is that Lowry will sign a 1-day contract and retire as a Raptor. Now, Lowry did contradict the reports that he is about to retire, or more told fans to wait for him to announce it. But whenever it does happen, Lowry will retire as one of the greatest Raptors ever, and it is just about a sure thing that the team will retire his number 7.
Lots to watch in the hours and days ahead. Thank you for doing this, Paul. Always appreciate it.
Thanks, Julie.
Paul McGowan with your look at sports. In the next half hour, a remarkable story as we hear how a treasured jacket with a deep cultural meaning was stolen, but then returned only one day later, thanks to a joint effort by the Indigenous community on none other than Facebook, reuniting the owner with this treasured jacket. That story and much more as we continue Information Radio. We'll also take a look at the road situation as a result of the flooding and how long it could take to ultimately fix some of those roads, particularly in the parkland. That and much more after your CBC News, which is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. It's 7:30. We've got a little bit of blue sky out there right now, but we are going to be mostly cloudy for this first Friday of July. We do have a chance of showers, maybe even an afternoon thunderstorm. Today's high 23. Humidex will factor in, feeling like 28. Flood evacuees in Swan River say they had almost no warning the water was coming. Kevin Gregg could hear water running in the street when he woke up Wednesday morning. He rousted his wife Pam from bed. Crews were already making sandbags. The couple started filling them and packing them around their house. But before long, the water was flooding their yard.
Pam was packing some stuff up to get out of there.
We moved everything up on the second level. We have 3 levels in our house, so hopefully the bedrooms aren't affected, but moved everything up there. But with the water like that, I think it's got all floors.
By the time they drove out, the water was to the bumper of their truck and the pavement was lifting off the street. The Greggs say there should have been better planning and coordination by the town and province, especially, they say, after there were flood issues in Swan River just a few weeks ago. Well, tension around Tuduli Lake as a fire grows near the remote fly-in community. Priority 1 evacuees were moved to Churchill Wednesday night, with more evacuations expected. The only way in and out of Tuduli Lake is through the airport, located between the wildfire and the town. Seisi Dene First Nation councillor Corey Cheeky says the wind has blown the fire away from town, but worries it could change.
Out here, you never know. The winds can shift at like that, and it could be bad, and we don't want that, especially with a small community as ours and as up north as we are. It's real concerning.
Tuduli Lake is almost 1,000 kilometers north of Winnipeg. A Winnipeg woman says she was harassed by a student who sent her threats of rape and AI-generated nude images over social media. CBC's Santiago Arias Orozco reports.
For more than 2 months, a woman says she was harassed online. CBC is not naming her because she was the victim of a crime that started in April with an Instagram message. It was an image of a profile picture turned into a nude photo with artificial intelligence. The woman blocked the account, but a new one reached out, sending the same picture. That cycle repeating over with new users contacting her every few days. The messages escalating to threats of rape. She reported to police, who told her in late June they had arrested one of her students in connection. The woman says she saw the boy every day in class while doing her practicum to graduate as a teacher. River Eastern Scone School Division say they have implemented disciplinary measures, but didn't disclose the specifics. Police say a 17-year-old boy is in custody, facing a number of charges, including criminal harassment. Santiago Arias Orozco, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg's Vietnamese community worries they could lose access to their cultural center in downtown Winnipeg. Saigon Center started as a housing project for Vietnamese refugees in 1989. It also housed the Vietnamese Cultural Center on the main floor. Recently, Manitoba Housing bought the 54-unit building. Tu Pham says she couldn't speak English after she first stepped foot in that building after arriving in Canada in 1989. She and others now worry the cultural center could be lost in this transfer.
This is a place I know since I came to Canada. That's a Saigon Center. That's a Vietnamese community. Now, if Manitoba Housing take it, where we go? We, the Vietnamese group community, did nothing wrong. Why take that from us?
The province says the Vietnamese community will still have access to the cultural center once the transfer of ownership is finalized. Well, thousands of people in Steinbach and Winkler have signed petitions demanding a say on legal cannabis sales. Organizers have gathered enough support to spark up plebiscites during this October's municipal elections. Jesse Lavoie is the president of cannabis supplier Toba Grown. He says public opinion in southern Manitoba has shifted significantly since both communities banned retail pot back in 2018.
It's obviously goes against religious views of it, which are big in these cities. I think now people just need to understand, if people look how busy their liquor stores are, look how busy their tobacco stores are, the sky is not falling. Actually, the negative thing of not allowing it is allowing the illegal market to prosper.
Voters in both Steinbach and Winkler chose to lift long-standing bans on alcohol sales back in 2003. It took until 2009 and 2013 for the first liquor stores to actually open in Steinbach and Winkler. Well, Ottawa's new grocery and essentials benefit payment begins today. This money is going directly to low and moderate income Canadians to help offset taxes and inflation. The program replaces the quarterly GST-HST credit. The benefit provides up to $700 annually for individuals and $1,400 for a family of four. You could see that money in your bank account today. And you can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. You can always find more Manitoba news as it develops throughout the day. Just head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Heather Wells at the CBC News Centre. Abby Adeyemi has been compiling your forecast and gives us a snapshot of what we can expect.
Yeah, we're looking at cloudy conditions in the southern part of the province, and we're seeing light showers in some areas, while those thick fire smoke still impacting the Tuduli Lake region. So we're advising vulnerable groups to really try to limit outdoor times. For Winnipeg right now, expect a mainly cloudy day with slim chance of afternoon showers and a risk of thunderstorms to go with that. Current temperatures around 16 degrees with just windy conditions developing as we aim towards a high of 23 today. But with the humidity factored in, it's going to feel close to 28, 29. In the southern regions, we're looking at temperatures near 15 degrees. Light rain showers also in the forecast for most of the regions. From the northern area, we're seeing 15 degrees there. Light rain spotted in some areas. You warm up to 22 later. Brandon is at 14 and cloudy, a high of 20 in the forecast. Dauphin is sitting at 14, aiming for a high of 21, while Gimli is at 15. Mainly cloudy there. You will see a high of 20. Up north, we're looking at 13 degrees and sunny around the Par Flim Flong. Highs around 22, while for the for the Norway House area, mainly sunny skies, 13 degrees there, a daily high of 26. We move towards Thompson and the Split Lake area, mainly sunny skies there also. Current temperatures around 12 degrees. You get to a high of 26. Then we have hazy conditions around the Lynn Lake area, 12 degrees at this time, a high of 25. We have local smoke in that part of the province. Towards Gillam, we're seeing sunny conditions, 6 degrees now, aiming for a high of 24. And for Tuduli Lake, we have 12 degrees there, widespread smoke present, misty conditions also in the mix, a high of 26. For the Churchill region, we're looking at 14 there, a high of 23 today. So it's more of a mix of southern showers and smoky conditions in the northern part of the province with a sunny day there. But for Winnipeg right now, we are still seeing this dance between cloudy conditions and the sun trying to break through. Current temperature 16 degrees, and we're aiming for a muggy high of 23 later today. With the humidity factor in July, it's going to feel close to 28 degrees in the city.
Thank you so much, Abby. Appreciate it. Sierra Sanders is here. She is our show's director and also monitoring traffic.
Not too much to monitor so far, Julie. It's been pretty quiet out there on your commute. Haven't gotten any phone calls on the CBC commuter line, so that to me it sounds like things are moving along pretty smoothly. But if that does happen to change and something pops up, I'd love to hear about it. So give me a call on that CBC commuter line. The number is 204-788-3093.
A beautiful Manitoba story playing out 2 weeks ago after a beloved cultural buckskin jacket, which I am now getting to enjoy the sight of, stolen from a vehicle, fortunately recovered very quickly, just one day later. Michael Hutchinson is the jacket's owner, attributes the unlikely reunion to the power of the Facebook Indigenous community. Michael is a playwright with the Pimicikawan Creators Circle and also a member of the Mississippiwistic Cree Nation, and joins us now in studio with this beautiful jacket to tell the story. Welcome.
Tansei, how are you doing today?
I am thrilled to be able to see this beautiful piece of work.
It is quite nice.
I'm glad that we have the opportunity to see it, although kind of an unfortunate reason that we're talking about it today. And we are on YouTube, so there's going to be pictures live streamed there as well. So go and check it out. It is definitely worth it. Your reaction to getting it back.
My reaction to getting it back, I had tears in my eyes, to be honest with you. What
does this jacket mean to you?
Well, this jacket was given to me about 40 years ago. I don't want to age myself, but it's a fairly old jacket. These yoke and the cuffs here were brain tanned moose. And so back in the old days, they smelled like firewood. And so they're so old now that they no longer have that smell. Then the jacket proper has been remade probably a couple of times by mom as I grew up over the years. Now, for those who can't see, on the jacket is my family flower. Now, in Cree culture, the women make the clothes. And so what the women choose to decorate the clothes with become our family flags.
Like your crest,
Like
right?
our crest,
Yeah.
totally. And so this flower is my family flower. And for those who can't see it, it's got about 4 leaves, blue petals with dark blue around the edges, an orange center, and then green leaves sort of radiating off the sides. And that was a flower my grandmother invented through her own creativity. My aunties could tell you how many beads it takes you to make this flower because they've all made it, right? And so this jacket is very important to me. It's for my grandkids. And so when I lost it, I was heartbroken, to say the least.
So how did it start? How did the jacket go from your possession to somebody else's?
Well, it was one of those things. It was one of the best days of my life and one of the worst days of my life. I was having a play. The first time I had a play at the MTC on stage for the Pimu Utuin program. I want to thank Melissa and Carrie for all their work at MTC. And so we were working with the actors, and I had brought some props, including a guitar and an amp, and I had a ribbon shirt and my jacket in the car as well. And we went in, worked with the actors for a couple hours, came out to get the props, and the car had been broken into. Now, me and my daughter had made sure, because of the valuable stuff in there, to press the button. We're not certain how they got in. Maybe, say something
like a
damaged a
Slim
lock
Jim
or something, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. One of my windows is whistling now, so they could have used something there. But whatever the case, it was gone. So the actors at MTC were like, well, do you just want to go run, do you want to stop what we're doing, go run around the neighborhood? And I said, well, the show must go on. So let's keep doing this. But that night when I got home, I put out a call on Facebook. Now, the Native community on Facebook is very close, very committed to each other. And when they heard that a Kukum's jacket has gone missing, they stepped up and they
Why
really
am I
helped
not
out.
surprised?
I am not surprised
No.
at all. And so what happened was about 2:30 the next day, I got a DM over Facebook, and a lady said, "We think we got your jacket." And I was like, "Tell me where you are. I will be there." And I left work. I had literally driving there with tears in my eyes. I get there. It's the mobile overdose prevention site at the Sunshine House. So thank you to Sunshine House. What happened is a gentleman walked up to the unit. He was wearing the jacket. One of the staff said, "Hey, that's a beautiful jacket. Can I buy it off of you?" And then one of the other staff said, "No, I think I've seen a post on this." They went through Facebook, found it. They paid the gentleman $50 of their own money to get the jacket back. DM'd me. I ran over there. Well, drove over there. I'm not much of a runner. And paid them the $50, gave a sizable donation to the Sunshine House. And I want to thank Val, Miranda, and Meredith for being a part of this. And I obviously want to thank Native Twitter for stepping up and being there for me. It is a Winnipeg miracle.
Did you ever think you'd see it again?
Everybody who saw me was like, "Why are you so calm about this?" And, it's one of those things where I got pretty good karma. Things go out, things comes back in. The universe is about breathing in and out, and so I kind of suspected I'd get it back. You don't lose something like this. And, I honestly think my grandmother, I'm going to try not to ugly cry here, but my grandmother made this jacket. And Angela Cook, she earned a name in our language that basically means everyone's mom. And she was a great lady. And, I kind of think that she may have had to go visit a relative.
And I know you're clearly very fond of her. So I'll mention a couple things that you told our producer about. She was an award-winning beater and sewer in the Paw Fur Trapper Festival, won the beading and hide making contest many years, and your mom followed in her footsteps. Your grandmother raised 14 kids in northern Manitoba and earned that beautiful name, everyone's mom. So that it's a beautiful story. And now do you kind of wish that jacket could speak to you and whisper in your ear and say, over these 24 hours, this is where I went? Like, do you kind of wish, now that you have it back and it's safe, do you kind of wish you know what it did?
Well, the gentleman who brought the jacket to MOPS was said that he picked it up at Chalet Mission.
Oh.
And then from there, he said that it had been found on Main Street. So we're not certain if those stories are true, but that is the story we got. I am the author of the Mighty Muskrat Mystery Series. So my next book is going to be called The Case of the Beaded Buckskin. It's going to be about this story. The young detectives in the Mighty Muskrat Mystery Series are going to track it down. And at the end of the story, there's going to be an epilogue that talks about my grandma wanting to go out and visit somebody and taking the jacket to do that.
Oh, so I was going to say, like, you've called this a miracle, and I wondered if it would make it, could it become a play, do you think?
Well, you know what? I'm much better writing, the Mighty Muskrats Mystery Series, which are described as First Nation Hardywood books. I'm still a rookie at writing plays, so maybe further down the road.
In your Facebook post, you had the pictures of yourself wearing the jacket to various events. Are you certain... Are there certain events that you pull this jacket out for? Because obviously there's such a huge sentimental attachment.
Yes. Well, like I said, that night where the play was on stage is one of those special moments in my life, and I only wear it for those moments. Like this jacket ultimately is for one of my grandkids, and that's what I save for. So it really only gets out of my closet about once a year, and yeah, for it to be stolen during that one day a year it got out, and then to come back within about 26 hours, like I said, a Winnipeg miracle.
Do you think your grandmother would be proud? I mean, again, we're talking about the jacket because it did go missing, but ultimately came back to you. But, we're talking to Manitoba. If you're on YouTube, you're getting to see the pictures. People would see the pictures on Facebook. Do you think it would tickle her a little bit to know that it's raised this much kerfuffle?
My grandmother actually gave a jacket to the Pope. So there is one of my grandmother's jacket in the Vatican. She is she's an award-winning beater. And yeah, my grandmother, I'm going to say something I don't want anybody to tease me about in the future, but I know you will. My grandmother used to call me Little Squirrel. And so I think she probably would have just chalked this up to one of Little Squirrel's little adventures.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your grandmother's beautiful work with us. And as I say, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sure those were 26 very difficult hours. But on the flip side, the silver lining in all of this is we get to enjoy this work that was created just a couple of years ago.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you again to Indigenous Facebook and Indigenous Twitter for stepping up, and thank you for being a community.
Michael Hutchinson is a playwright with the Pinabateowin Creator Circle, a member of the Mississippiwistic Cree Nation, and the very proud owner of one gorgeous buckskin jacket. Thank you for joining us.
Have a great day.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
11 minutes now before 8 o'clock. Let's run down your forecast around the province of Manitoba. In Winnipeg, we have been experiencing some sunshine today, but we are anticipating the clouds to roll in. There is a chance of showers, risk of a thunderstorm this afternoon, heading up to a high of 23, but feeling a little on the sticky side with a high of 28. Brandon, clouds, very good chance of showers, risk of a thunderstorm, the high of 20 today. Dauphin, chance of rain or thunderstorms in the high 21. Flin Flon in the Paw on a way to a high of 22, 26, so pretty warm in Thompson today. Churchill, sunshine, and a high of 23 degrees. And of course, Abby will bring us the very latest in your forecast as the morning continues. Well, as we talk about the weather, how could we not talk about what some in our province have been experiencing over the past several days? Deluges of rain hitting many parts of this province, including the Parkland and areas south of Brandon, too. Swamping infrastructure that people rely on to get into and out of their communities and camping spots. The roads had politicians from Dauphin, Swan Valley West, Boissevain, and even the Premier himself reacting.
Municipal roads and provincial roads north and west of us that are impassable. Several bridges are out.
It's very difficult to do that while it's still raining. So we're hoping that lets up and we can actually get in and start putting some roads back in.
Put aside some money in your budgets for, surprises, but a surprise like this can cost millions of dollars if you have to rebuild a bunch of roads.
We are asking all Manitobans in the Parkland region to stay off all highways and stay off all municipal roads, even those that appear passable at the moment. The reason is we continue to see a lot of road failures and other impacts on infrastructure in the region in areas even where the water may have moved on.
Chris Lawrence is president and CEO of the Manitoba Heavy Construction Association, and he joins us now live. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Julie, and thank you for this opportunity.
As you hear there, all of the different politicians, different parts of the province, all talking about the same thing, roads. And we love talking about roads. There's always something to complain about, whether it's the potholes or something else. But when we see natural disaster like this impact such a wide area of the province, all roughly within the same time frame, and do such devastation, it makes us wonder, how quickly can it all get fixed when these crews have already been hired to work on projects planned long before the wild weather was even the blip on the radar screen?
That's a good question. First of all, our hearts go out to our colleague Manitobans in the Parkland region. We hope that they're able to weather through the storm, as it were. The reality is that in an emergency, everything is put aside to address the emergency. And that is what industry is adept at doing. That is part of who we are. That's part of our DNA. And that's part of the DNA of Manitobans and Canadians, that when tragedy strikes, we do what is necessary in order to help those that are in a state of need. And we clearly are in that state this morning.
Do we have enough expertise and even the human resources to add these fixes to the slate of highway and road repairs that are already planned or already underway? We know when there's big things happen, sometimes we have to pull, for example, hydro crews from other parts of the province. Do we have what we need here in Manitoba, or are companies and municipalities going to have to look outside the province?
Well, some of it is based on planning. A lot of it is based on planning. And what we don't have at the present time, and we've asked the Canoe government to be the first government in our provincial history, is to undertake a needs and conditions assessment of Manitoba's transportation system, identify a critical path for the investment strategy, a financial plan to fund the investment, and then increase investment in highways from its current $525 million, which, by the way, was $620 million in 2016, to a projected need of $1.2 billion annually over the next 3 years. The system is underfunded, it's weak, it's failing us, and it's not providing us the kinds of protection and transportation efficiency that an economy and country and province require.
So is this an opportunity to build better then? Because if they're failing, can anything withstand what we've seen lately, or is this an opportunity to say, maybe we need to Band-Aid it now? So, for example, we can get people out of a campground that are cut off, but in the future we need to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that we're prepared for the eventual next time.
I think the standards to which we build highways at the present time is adequate to purpose. A natural disaster will always throw those plans aside. But what we do need is to understand that simply inadequately investing in transportation is not a plan. That's not the way to manage your asset. You don't wait until your shingles are blown off the roof of your home before you make repairs. You do that in a timely manner. So it's a combination of preventative maintenance to ensure that what you have built lasts the designed life, and that you have an incrementally identified and supported by an annual and 5-year program investment strategy to build that which you need to standards and conditions that will allow the design life to come to reality. So it's planning. We don't do that well in Manitoba, and we significantly underfund the highways transportation system.
How will the prioritization work now that we've thrown, I don't know how many kilometers have been damaged, but, clearly we have people that are cut off, essentially communities or parks or campgrounds that are an island as a result of this. How will the prioritization work as we pull crews from one area to move them around to another?
Well, I think the reality is that the first priority is to help Manitobans that have been affected by the floods and by the rainwater and by the washouts. So you attend to those things first, and you return to your regular highways capital program once the emergency requirements have been addressed. I don't think anyone would argue that we want to make sure that Manitobans are safe, that washouts have been corrected, that flood waters have been drained before you get back to the normal business of building, maintaining, rehabilitating highways. So I'm sure that that'll be the priority for the government, as it should be.
Have you ever seen devastation like this when it comes to roads? No doubt you've seen the pictures we've all seen.
Well, I've lived through the Dewar era floods. I've seen obviously the pictures recently. I do remember that during the years of Premier Dewar's stewardship, industry responded and built the Z Dike, and that was again an example where Manitoba reached directly to industry and said, here is the challenge, build the Z Dike, do what you need to do to get it done to protect Manitobans. And we did that in 7 days. So there is resilience, there is capacity, there is the ability to go well above and beyond the call of duty, and our industry has done that in the past, and it'll do it now too.
Less than a minute remaining here, Chris, and I'm wondering, is this a case of kind of, as I mentioned, you go in, you Band-Aid things and get things running and then go back and do a more permanent fix?
That's correct.
Yeah. So best of luck to the crews that are doing this. We know that they're going to be working around the clock. So if people see some empty projects, it just means that they could be in another part of the province.
That's exactly right. And we understand that people are impatient during periods of construction. Their travel times are interrupted. We're doing the best that we can as quickly as we can. There isn't a contractor out there who wants to take more time than necessary to build or repair or replace a roadway surface, whether highway, street, sidewalk, or lane. So just be patient with us. We're not in your way. We're at work. Give us that opportunity to finish it.
Chris Lawrence, thank you for spending some time this morning with us, and we really appreciate it.
Nice to see you, Julie, and thank you.
Good to see you as well. Chris Lawrence is president and CEO of the Manitoba Heavy Construction Association. Next half hour, we will speak with the chief scientist of WeatherLogics to get a sense of what July's weather forecast has in store in Manitoba. Let's head back to the CBC News Centre with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, a Winnipeg woman says she was harassed by a student who sent her sexually explicit images and threats of rape over Instagram for months. In early April, she received a message from an unknown account with an AI-generated nude picture of her. The woman blocked the user, but another soon reached out, sending her that same image. And over 2 months, the woman says she was reached by at least 20 different accounts. She has filed a report with police, who told her in late June they had arrested one of her students. Vietnamese people in Winnipeg worry they could lose access to a cultural hub in the heart of the city. Saigon Centre, a social housing complex, has to be taken over by Manitoba Housing over unpaid arrears on the mortgage. We'll hear about it coming up at 8:30.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
World Report is next.
Q. I'm Ali Hassan, sitting in for Tom Power. The Canadian actor Jack Innanen first found an audience posting funny TikTok videos online. Those clips earned him a devoted fan base and the title of the internet's boyfriend. Jack has translated that online success into an acting career, and he'll be here to tell you about it.
Social media is incredible for creativity.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current.
I'm Pia Chattopadhyay. Americans are celebrating their country's 250th birthday, but their take on their country's history and this moment means the events are very different from place to place. That's coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Willie Lowry. Alberta and Ottawa are proposing a new pipeline project to the west coast. The proposal would carry more than 1 million barrels of oil a day through British Columbia. The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian is in Ottawa. Rafi, how is this announcement being received?
Willie, it's getting praise from where you might expect, like the Calgary Chamber of Commerce, which says the energy sector needs certainty and investment. And this is an investment. The pipeline is expected to cost at least $35 billion, mostly paid for by the Canadian taxpayer. Yesterday evening, Mark Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith announced the pipeline will be handled by the Federal Crown Corporation that owns Trans Mountain, with a 10% stake from Pembina Pipeline. Like Trans Mountain, it will run from around Edmonton to southern BC. There are some differences. Back when Ottawa announced it was buying that pipeline, Stephen Guilbeault, the now former federal environment minister, was part of Liberal caucus. Now he's just stepped down. He's got some thoughts, saying on Facebook, this is yet another project funded by taxpayers, even as oil companies are expected to earn $60 billion in profits this year. He did praise the north-south route the pipeline is taking, saying at least that means BC's northern coast will still be protected, the federal ban on oil tanker traffic staying in place.
So, Rafi, what's next?
Now the federal government has to make a call by October 1st on whether this project fits in the national interest. And once that's done, the pipeline can get fast-tracked through approvals, presumably construction by September of next year. It could take up to 6 years to build, though, and meanwhile, plenty could happen. Also this October, Albertans face a referendum vote, for instance, on whether their province should stay in Canada or have an eventual vote on secession.
The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian in Ottawa. Thanks, Rafi.
You're welcome.
An Ontario couple found guilty of first-degree murder will appear in court today for the start of their sentencing hearing. The two women were convicted in the 2022 death of a 12-year-old boy that they were attempting to adopt. The court will begin hearing victim impact statements this morning. Michelle Song has details on the case and the calls for systemic reform.
After an Ontario judge decided Becky Hamber and Brandy Cooney were guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder in the death of a 12-year-old, referred to in court as LL, and for abusing his younger brother, JL. Sarah Biasetti, who was the teacher of the brothers, called for systemic change at the Children's Aid Society. She said she reported to CAS 4 times out of concern for their safety.
They send me photos of them zip-tied, which I submitted to CAS, and nothing was done.
In the judge's 300-page decision, he wrote the actions or inactions of the Children's Aid Society had zero to do with the guilt or innocence of the couple. Ontario's former child advocate Erwin Ellman says the system needs to change.
Our systems do not center around children, even though they're supposed to be child-centered.
We know that children are safer when they're heard and seen and have a voice. That's a beginning point for safety, and our system is not built to provide for that.
The prosecution argued the couple hated the boys and isolated them from their Indigenous community. LL died in 2022 and he was found malnourished and unresponsive in a pool of liquid on the floor of his bedroom. A sentencing hearing will begin today with victim impact statements, but it is unclear whether the two women will receive their sentences today. A first-degree murder conviction carries a mandatory life sentence. Michelle Song, CBC News, Toronto.
A cleanup is underway in Kyiv after several areas were hit by Russian strikes. Excavators are removing debris from the shell of a building in Ukraine's capital. Nearby, residents are gathering belongings from their homes after the attack. 30 people were killed in the drone and missile strikes. Flags across Kyiv have been lowered to half-mast for a day of mourning. An international manhunt is underway for a Ukrainian woman suspected of carrying out a targeted bombing in Monaco. The remote-control blast wounded a wealthy Ukrainian tycoon who faces sanctions from Kyiv over his business operations in Russia. Monaco prosecutor Margot Raymond says investigators cracked the case after reviewing security footage.
Ces nouvelles images et le témoignage d'une personne entrée en contact avec l'individu.
These new images, combined with a witness statement obtained on the evening of the incident from someone who had interacted with the suspect, led investigators to focus on a woman who appeared to have disguised herself as a man.
Interpol has issued an arrest warrant for the suspect, who is believed to have fled to Germany. Extra money is landing in bank accounts today as the federal government rolls out the first payments of the new Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit. The program completely replaces the old quarterly GST credit to help modest income households cope with high food costs. It locks in a permanent 25% increase, providing up to $700 annually for individuals and $1,400 for a family of four. The Canada Revenue Agency says the quarterly deposits are automatic for eligible tax filers. New York City police are monitoring Madison Square Garden today ahead of a major celebrity event. City permits show pop star Taylor Swift and football star Travis Kelce are holding their wedding at the arena later this afternoon. The CBC's Griffin Yeager is outside the venue in Manhattan. Griffin, what are you seeing on the ground this morning? And did that reported rehearsal dinner happen last night?
Yeah, we're right outside Madison Square Garden where the supposed wedding is set to be underway. There's tons of police barricades all throughout the venue. Lots of fans sort of speculating police cars. We even walked past a tent where some black SUVs will probably roll in later with some stars. But last night, there was believed to be the rehearsal dinner at Madison Square Garden ahead of tonight's big celebration. That's according to several sources, including CNN, with sources that are familiar with the planning committee. It was a rehearsal dinner for approximately 100 guests before the 1,000 guest wedding gets underway today. Now, we don't really know much. What we do know is that curtains are hung throughout the venue. Like I mentioned, there's tons of barricades. We're not seeing anything or anyone that's going outside or inside this venue. There's large police presence, several celebs spotted out and about in New York, including some Chiefs players, and some outlets are actually reporting that the couple may already be married, and this is just sort of an elaborate celebration. Websites that track Swift's private jet showed the plane made multiple stops on Sunday, first leaving from Nashville, where she's rumored to live, making stops in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, where some of their family lives, and Tampa Bay as well, then returning back to Nashville. And speculation is that's where they may have already gotten married.
Lots of intrigue and drama, clearly. What are we expecting for the rest of the day?
Yeah, so in a few hours, we'll expect guests will start arriving for the wedding that Forbes is estimating could cost as much as $20 million. New York Times actually published an internal memo from the NYPD, supposedly called Taylor Swift Wedding at Madison Square Garden, and that said that the doors to the arena will open around 4 p.m. for cocktail hour, followed by a wedding and reception that'll kick off at 5:30 p.m. We're expecting to see tons of Swifties out here, just sort of trying to get any kind of glimpse of the pop star and the football player about to be wed.
Thanks so much for that, Griffin.
Thanks.
The CBC's Griffin Yeager in New York. And finally, it was 55 years ago today. Jim Morrison, the enigmatic frontman of The Doors, was found dead in a Paris apartment. He was just 27 years old.
If I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher.
Morrison was the poetic wild heart of the 60s counterculture. His dark lyrics and hypnotic stage presence redefined rock music in just a few short years. Official reports blamed heart failure, but the mystery surrounding his sudden death in France only cemented his myth. His passing also sealed an eerie piece of rock folklore. Morrison died exactly 2 years to the day after Rolling Stones founder Brian Jones, who also tragically passed away at age 27. More than 5 decades later, Morrison's voice remains unmistakable.
Riders on the storm. Riders on the storm.
And that's the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Willie Lowry.
To this world we're thrown, like a dog without a bone, an actor out alone.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday. I'm Julie Buckingham, in for Marcy Marcusa. You're with Information Radio on CBC. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. Current temperature outside our downtown studio in Winnipeg at Portage and Spence is 18 degrees, and we've actually got some sunshine for the moment. Abby will have your full forecast in just a moment. Still to come, parts of Manitoba, as you know, dealing with wildfires, others with flooding conditions. So what can we expect for this new month of July? We'll hear from a weather scientist straight ahead. Lots is still to come on the show, and we'll bring you the very latest on what you think about mosquitoes as well. We've been asking you this morning, how are they where you live, given that we have rain and now heat? Are you dealing with those bloodsuckers at night? Let's head now to our news center with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, Premier Wab Kinew says the province will have to adjust how it rebuilds infrastructure in the parkland. Highways in that area have been closed because of water rushing over them or they've washed out altogether. Kinew says given climate change, they will need to look at how infrastructure can handle such floods. Thousands of people in Steinbach and Winkler want cannabis on the ballot for this October's municipal election. Steinbach and Winkler are the two largest cities in Manitoba to ban retail cannabis stores. Nearly 6,000 people have signed petitions to force another vote. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 8:30.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
And checking that forecast now, let's head over to Abby. What can you tell us about the weekend ahead?
Yeah, the weekend ahead, we are looking at more of a cloudy start into the weekend. We have this divide this Friday morning as we're seeing those wildfire smoke impacting the air quality as you travel far north, while the southern half of the province, we're more like unsettled cloudy conditions and a risk of thunderstorms in some areas later this afternoon. Just a reminder, we still have that yellow air quality warning active for the Tooele Lake region due to smoke in the air, so take it easy. While for Winnipeg right now, we're looking at mostly cloudy skies, the sun really cracking through. There's a 40% chance of showers this afternoon and a storm risk. Current temperatures, we're seeing it hover between 15 and 18 degrees with windy conditions as we head to that high of 23 today, though with the humidity factored in, it's going to feel like 28, so it's going to be a humid one, and that's the condition across the southern regions. We're looking at morning values between 15s and 16s under dull skies from the Pembina Valley region stretching all the way to the Interlake Westman Parkland regions. We're seeing most of these regions hover near 16 degrees right now with misty conditions spotted in the Dauphin area and these heavy clouds in the Pembina Valley region. Most of the areas will see daytime highs close to 23 degrees. Then if you look up north, we're seeing 14s to 16 pocket covers the Norway House, Thompson, Churchill region, pushing the highs close to 26 degrees in the area. Then we talk about where the smoke is. Gillam, Lynn Lake, Tudula Lake. We're seeing smoky conditions in that part of the province with daytime highs peaking around the mid-20s today. But the smoke is the concern in that part of the province. So we have that split. Smoke in the north and cloudy conditions in the south. Some rain might come in later in the day. You might notice some storms to come with that as well. But for Winnipeg right now, we are just hovering near 18 degrees. We get to 23, but I'll just say stick with 28 today because of the humidity that's going to be coming our way.
That's what it's going to feel like anyway. Sierra Sanders is a show's director and also monitoring your commute. I have a funny feeling people extended their weekend, right? Canada Day being Wednesday, take Thursday, Friday, and perhaps that's why we're seeing some lower volumes.
Yeah, I would expect that too, Julie. Yeah, it's been pretty quiet on the CBC commuter line this morning, which to me sounds like your drive out there is running pretty smoothly at this point. No major situations or backups to report at the moment. But of course, we are seeing multiple highways. I did count, there's about 60 highway closures right now due to the flooding that we are seeing in parts of the province. So you want to be aware of that and check Manitoba 511 for up-to-date conditions and any situations going on there. That's where you should be going. But I also wanted to let folks know that today and tomorrow, Princess Auto Stadium is going to be full of concert goers. Tonight is Country Thunder, where Bailey Zimmerman and Josh Ross will be performing. And then tomorrow is Rockin' Thunder, where Motley Crue and 3 Days Grace you'll find performing at Princess Auto Stadium. So expect some, if you're in the area or in the neighborhood there, expect some delays there due to traffic. I know there's already construction that contribute to the delays, but with all the concert goers, you want to expect a little bit more busyness in that area. Still a little bit of time left in the show, though, so if something does pop up here in the next 20 or so minutes, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number's 204-788-3093.
For some Manitobans, the first part of summer has looked not just a little, but a lot different. If you look at the statistics from the Forks, this was the second wettest June on record, 231.5 millimeters of rainfall recorded there through the month. Swan River, 269.4 millimeters in June. And while southern Manitoba deals with rain, some parts in the north, as we're hearing, are dealing with wildfires. So what will July bring? Scott Kaler joins us now, the president and chief scientist of WeatherLogics. Good morning. Thanks for doing this.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Before we look back at July, how would you describe Manitoba's weather in June?
Well, I think the main word is wet. It was an incredibly wet month. We saw all sorts of records set in Stonewall. We have to go back earlier in the month when we had that one tremendous storm that dropped anywhere from 250 to 300 millimeters of rain in just 12 hours. And then as the month went on, things just really stayed that way. Out in western Manitoba, you mentioned some of those incredible totals around Swan River, but believe it or not, that wasn't even the highest rain total in June. In San Claro, which is near the Saskatchewan border, they had 422 millimeters in the month of June, and Roblin, 275 millimeters. So incredibly wet month, and also very stormy. We saw that a tornado went through White Ridge in Winnipeg. We saw that devastating hailstorm in the northeastern part of the city, and really overall just an incredibly volatile month across the province.
So in terms of June, as you mentioned, 2 tornadoes touching down, including the one in the city of Winnipeg and the other in Rossburn. Massive amounts of rain, devastating hail. Do you have to really search your memory banks to think of a month that packed with weather stories?
Well, in terms of the severity of it, this was a very unusual month. You can go back in history and you can find months where there were tornadoes in Manitoba or maybe flooding or maybe hail. But to get them all in the same month, and in some cases all in the same day, is very unusual. The June 9th storm that produced that horrible hailstorm in Winnipeg also had the flooding in Stonewall. There were also at least 2 tornadoes that day. So we were seeing days where everything was happening all at once. And then not only did it happen all in one day, but it happened on multiple days in the month of June. And we haven't really even been talking too much about the fires because of everything that's been going on in the south. But northern Manitoba, it's been kind of the opposite. It's been a very hot and dry month. So northern Manitoba, Saskatchewan, into the Northwest Territories, incredibly hot and dry month. So they're dealing with a lot of fire activity. So really, it's been such a volatile month. You can pretty much find any type of severe weather going on just within our province.
No doubt you've been running the models. We're now into July. So what's in store for Manitoba this month?
Well, as we move into July, unfortunately, I think the weather pattern it really is not going to be changing too much. When I look forward, the end of this week hasn't been too active in terms of weather. But as we move into the weekend, I am seeing the threat for severe weather returning, especially in western Manitoba, Saturday, Sunday. So folks out there need to keep an eye out for more severe storms. And the reason for this is we're just seeing the same weather pattern repeating over and over again. The jet stream has been moving across the prairies, bringing powerful low-pressure systems, which are bringing a combination of severe weather and heavy rain, both to Manitoba, but also to our friends out west as well. Edmonton had its wettest June on record. Pretty much the entire prairies have been very wet this month. But because we're more on the eastern side of these systems, we're not only getting the rain, but we're getting that hot and humid feed of air from the United States, and that's increasing the threat of severe weather as these systems move across. So, my prediction for July is that we're going to see more severe weather, but temperatures will be a bit warmer as well, which is not necessarily a good thing. That will unfortunately probably fuel more mosquitoes. It will also maybe make some of these storms more severe as well, as the heat and humidity combined tends to be the fuel for the most severe thunderstorms.
How does climate change factor into all of this? As you say, we could probably find all of these things throughout a Manitoba summer, but to have them in a month or in a week or in a day is unusual.
Right. So when we're talking about climate change and its impact on these storms, what I would say is that we can never really say that a given storm event was caused by climate change. We know that throughout Manitoba's history, we've seen tornadoes, hail, flooding, etc. But what climate change does is it makes these types of weather events more likely. For example, when temperatures get warmer, the atmosphere can hold more moisture, and therefore, when you do get a flood, the flood can be more severe because the atmosphere has more moisture, which can then turn into rain. Or when it comes to, let's say, forest fires, as temperatures are warmer, the forests simply dry out more quickly. So for the month of June, I can't say that the severe weather we saw was entirely caused by climate change, but I think it's reasonable to say that the severity of it was likely increased somewhat by the fact that we have a warming climate.
And because of climate change and the difference in patterns that we've seen throughout the year, can we even say, when will we get back to normal summer? Is there such a thing anymore?
Well, in our climate in particular here in Manitoba, the word normal is a funny one because normal is not often something that actually we see all that often. When meteorologists calculate what the normal temperature is, they take the last 30 years of data and they take the average of that. But over that 30-year period, the normal value may not have actually happened very often. It just ends up sometimes being the average of many extreme numbers. So you get hot summers, cold summers, and the normal value is just the average of the hot ones and the cold ones. So as far as returning to normal summers, in the future we definitely will see them. But we live in what's called a continental climate. We live in the middle of North America. And when you live in the middle of a huge landmass, you get very extreme weather. The land heats up very quickly in summer, so we get these incredibly hot, humid days at this time of year. But then in winter, the landmass cools off so quickly, and there's no moderating influences, so we get very cold and dry winters. So we live in an extreme climate to begin with, and therefore, what seems like normal or quiet weather often can be kind of uncommon. Will happen again in the future, but just the fact that we live in this continental climate means that our weather is often more extreme than a lot of other places.
Which is why we say if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes, because it often
Yes.
feels like it can change on a dime. So can we predict what the rest of the summer will look like? We think July, you said more severe weather and likely some more precipitation, but going forward into August and into the fall?
Well, I think as we get later in the summer, the chances of the weather calming down a bit will increase. The main thing that we're keeping an eye on as meteorologists is this developing super El Nino event in the Pacific Ocean. And with El Nino, usually the influence of that for us is strongest in the winter time. So that means that this upcoming winter is likely to be a warm one. But the impact of that El Nino will probably begin to grow more so late in summer and then into fall. So what that would tend to mean is that the jet stream will start to head farther north. That will allow warmer air to sit over Manitoba and also allow those stronger weather systems to pass to our north where the jet stream is flowing, maybe up through northern Manitoba instead of the south. So my current feeling is that as we get into the latter part of summer and fall, weather may calm down a little bit, and then going into winter, a good chance for a warmer weather pattern more consistently.
Thank you, as always, for popping on and providing some insight into what we've been experiencing here in Manitoba. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend.
Scott Kaler is the president and chief scientist of WeatherLogics.
Manitoba may have a reputation for being cold and flat, but our podcast isn't. I'm Marcy Marcusa, the warmest host on the prairies. Even when my podcast, This is Manitoba, is exploring some challenging issues. I'm never flat when it comes to holding our leaders to account. Some of those interviews have been called spicy. If you care about this province, check out This is Manitoba, with new episodes dropping every Wednesday.
25 minutes after 8 o'clock. And as we've been talking about the flooding, we've heard about a farmer rescuing his animals and people pitching in to find them a place to stay. And some heroes, as we are learning, are in places you'd least expect. Rachel Schindler is the manager of Swan River Home Hardware. She has been putting in overtime to help her community after that devastating flooding. Here's what she told CBC.
I was here until 1 o'clock last night, helping customers get what they need. A lot of those customers were ones who had a pump, and then all of a sudden their pump failed. It was an older pump and it failed on them, and they were calling because they needed something. So I was able to help them out. It's been hectic. Fortunately, this time around, we were able to have a few more supplies on hand. So we were able to help more of our community out. With the last flood, we got in a special truck that was just sump pumps, dehumidifiers, fans, and generators. So we still had those here in the store. And as soon as the call, started getting bad here in Swan River, we made sure that our community knew we were here for them and that we had supplies to help them move some of that water as fast as they could. Now, the biggest challenge is keeping the water out of their basements. That's what everybody is fighting right now, and finding supplies. We ran out of sump pump hoses, and that is what we were in desperate need of. If we could get sump pump hoses from anywhere, that is what the community needs right now to help their pumps. A bigger hose is going to move more water faster than a garden hose is. And as soon as we were out of that, it was a pretty sad moment when the last one left the store. I'm told that there's a possibility. We're hoping we receive our freight truck this evening. He says on the map he thinks he's found a way in. I'm not sure which highway it is, but I've been told there's one road into Swan that is a major detour, but you can get in. We need boots on the ground. As soon as that water does go down, we need help to get stuff cleaned out. We need to get that wet stuff out of the basements. We need help drying people's properties, people's homes, so that there isn't a bigger issue with mold and health issues later on.
Rachel Schindler talking about how she's been supporting her community at this difficult time. She's been running the Swan River Home Hardware for the past 15 years. 8:28, Marjorie Dowhouse is here as you get set for Radio Noon. What are you working on?
Well, we're going to have more coverage, the flooding that's happening out west on Radio Noon today. But today on the call-in, we've been hearing about people talking about deer in their yard, seeing deer where they are. So we're asking you to share your stories about deer. What concerns do you have? And also maybe something interesting that's happened regarding deer in your neighborhood. So, yeah, give us a call.
I miss the deer in my neighborhood. Yeah, I live in Waverly West, and I at one point during the pandemic when we were all working from home, I counted 40.
Oh, 40.
40 in a field still now, which is now being developed.
Wow.
And so I kind of miss seeing them. I know a lot of people don't miss them when they're eating their gardens and their plants, but they sure are lovely to see. It kind of gives you that nature feeling inside the city.
Well, you know, we're going to have a wildlife expert, a deer expert joining us on the show today. So tune in and give us a call.
Thank you, Marjorie.
Thanks, Julie.
Let's thank some of our great people that put all of these shows together all week long. Associate producers Corey Funk, Abby Adiemi, Sierra Sanders, Chidi Akuma, also Marshall Hodgson, Jenna Kasul, Dylan Longhurst, Chloe Friesen, Sophia Peralta Barone, Emily Enns, and May McKillop. Our hosts are Nadia Kidwai, Marjorie Dowhouse, as you heard there, Faith Fundal, and Marcy Marcusa. In the news department, Alana Cole, Megan Ketchison, Aaron Broman, Darren Bernhardt, James Turner, and Heather Wells. And our YouTube producer, Darren Morash. Thanks to Corey Funk, who helped put the show together this week. Nellie Gonzalez is the show producer of the Current Affairs Unit, and Leif Larson is the senior producer of audio. Your CBC News starts now.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, we've warmed up to 18 degrees. We'll keep climbing. We're headed to 23 today. There is a chance of showers today and the risk of an afternoon thunderstorm. Premier Wab Kinew says the province will have to adjust how it rebuilds infrastructure in the parkland. Highways across the area have been closed because of water rushing over them or they're washed out altogether. Kinew says given climate change, they need to look at how infrastructure can handle such floods.
Highway 10, the big connection, the big artery for Swan River, we had to cut it to let floodwater through. And so now we got to think about water control along that important stretch of highway here in Manitoba.
Kinew says communities like Minnetonka saw a 1 in 10,000 year flood event twice in the space of a month. He says the province has to take that into consideration in how it deals with infrastructure. While people forced to flee their homes in Swan River are anxious to see the flood damage, Kevin and Pam Gregg say drone shots show water seeped into all 3 levels of their home. The couple tried desperately to sandbag Wednesday morning and move belongings to higher levels, but before long the water was filling their yard. The Greggs say they had almost no notice their home was about to flood.
There's no real coordinated effort at that point. We're just doing it. So
yeah, you're just flying by the seat of your pants. Not what if the river comes up. Well, we're going to do this. Bang, bang, bang. Let's have a plan.
In hindsight, it could have been better planning, knowing that it was coming.
By the time the Greggs drove out, the water was to the bumper of their truck and the pavement was lifting off the street. A Winnipeg woman says she was harassed by a student who sent her sexually explicit images and threats of rape over Instagram for months. CBC is not naming the woman. In early April, she received a message from an unknown account with an AI-generated nude photo of her. The woman blocked the user, but another soon reached out sending her that same image. Over 2 months, the woman says she was reached by at least 20 different accounts, some who threatened to rape her. She filed a report with police, who told her in late June they had arrested one of her students. The woman says she saw the boy every day in class while doing her practicum to graduate as a teacher. Police say a 17-year-old boy is in custody, facing numerous charges, including criminal harassment. Thousands of people in Steinbach and Winkler want cannabis on the ballot in this October's municipal election. Steinbach and Winkler are the 2 largest cities in Manitoba to ban retail cannabis stores. Kayla Pysiak works at Flamingo Plus in Steinbach and hopes to sell the product.
A lot of people in Steinbach may be for or maybe not for cannabis, but I've noticed a big influx of people that just want to have their say or have their right to choose when it comes to the election. So I would say about 50-50.
Both cities held their last recreational cannabis plebiscites in 2018, just a week after Canada-wide legalization of marijuana. At the time, roughly 70% of voters in both communities rejected cannabis stores. Now, nearly 6,000 people have signed petitions to force another vote. Vietnamese people in Winnipeg worry they could lose access to a cultural hub in the heart of the city. Saigon Centre is a social housing complex that served the Vietnamese refugee community for nearly 40 years. The 54-unit complex had to be taken over by Manitoba Housing over unpaid arrears on its mortgage. Kwan Hai Ton Tut has been going to the centre since he arrived in Winnipeg as a refugee. He says the cultural centre on the building's main floor is the first stop for many newcomers. And he says the province told them they could still use the space, but there could be some changes.
We would allow you to use it, but we would also allow other people, other communities to use that. That's a nice way to say that you may not be able to use it because you don't have priority anymore.
The province tells CBC it is fully committed to honoring the building's history. Well, you may find some extra cash in your bank account this morning. Eligible Canadians will start seeing the first of their quarterly payments from the Liberal government's Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit. It was designed to help lower-income households every 3 months, with amounts ranging from a few hundred to more than $1,000 a family, depending on marital status and the number of children in the household. A one-time payment worth 50% of the benefit's annual value was issued in June. Well, it was a meeting of two soccer powerhouses and two legends. Plenty of emotion at Toronto Stadium last night as Portugal and Croatia squared off for what would have been the final international appearance for either Portugal's Cristiano Ronaldo or Croatia's Luka Modric, two of the greatest footballers of all time. That match came down to the wire with the Portuguese side winning 2-1. After the game, Ronaldo was asked about his former Real Madrid teammate.
He's a legend of football. I wish him all the best and I hope he continues to play.
Now, Canada is going to continue to play, getting set for its next big game in the round of 16. Canada faces Morocco tomorrow at noon Central. You can find more news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you, Heather Wells. Hopefully they can row to victory. I love seeing the fans rowing like they're paddling a canoe.
So animated, right?
Right? I love it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sierra Sanders is here for one final check on your traffic.
Yeah, pretty quiet day on the commute here, Julie, but just heads up to folks, if you are in the area of Princess Auto Stadium tonight or tomorrow, be aware of maybe some heavier traffic as concert goers get ready for Country Thunder and Rockin' Thunder.
Enjoy the music maybe as you're driving by. Abby Adiyemi, one final check on your weather.
Yeah, air quality warning remains in place due to smoke in the far north, while the southern regions will be dealing with unstable skies. We're talking about light showers coming and, of course, some thunderstorms rolling by. Most of the regions will warm up close to 25 today. Winnipeg, we are at 18 right now. We're getting to 23, but it's going to feel humid like 28.
Well, that's great. I won't have to worry about curling my hair today because it will do it thanks to the weather. Thank you for being here and for listening to Information Radio. I'm Julie Buckingham. I've been sitting in for Marcy Marcusa. Be well. The Current is up next.